we're moving from the constitutional review process into the implementation process. And so early next year, we would announce an implementation committee. And of course, we're going to call some of you to come and serve on that committee because we need that institutional memory transferred into the implementation.
It obviously doesn't apply to the current president, right? So that was a principle we agreed as a committee, right off. Just straight up before we started. And I think that constitutions must be cross-party projects, must be bipartisan projects. You cannot change the constitution by one-party vote. So I think that we would want to be able to go to the people of Ghana and say, look, in 1992, there was a reason why we locked all this in almost forever. But it is binding us in a way where even if we want to change small things, we can't do it. So let us take those things out that are so important to you that you don't want anybody to touch. We take those things out and then release the rest. We put it back in Parliament, but 75% the same way we would have passed the referendum, because 75, almost no party is ever going to get 75 on their own.
Right.
75% in Ghana here.
That's Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh. He chaired that Constitutional Review Committee that, after the extensive consultations over a period, months of their work, traveling across the country, engaging stakeholder groups, Ghanaians, presented their report, the Constitutional Review Committee's report on recommendations of some amendments to portions of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. And these recommendations captured in the report you see the president showing have been as a result of consultations and engagements with a number of groups across the country. So it captures and reflects the expectations, the views, the aspirations, and the opinions of Ghanaians. You would find this report on the presidency's website. It is public. And portions of this report is what we're going to discuss this morning. It's a bulky document. We're not going to be able to run through all of it. So we'll touch on specific areas. One, they have proposed, after their consultation with interest groups, that the term of the president, the number of years in the term, be increased from 4 to 5 years. Also, they have proposed a capping on the number of ministers that a president can appoint, 57. Probably taking a cue from what is happening now. 57 is what they propose. Also, they have proposed that a member of parliament cannot be appointed as a minister of state. This is in sharp contrast to what is existing now. You have the president having the prerogative to appoint more than half of his ministers from parliament. Some of the MPs are not happy about this. Well, that's the proposal they have made. Also, a proposal regarding the removal process of the Chief Justice, the removal process of the chairperson of the Electoral Commission. These are the areas that we'll look at this morning. So stay with us here on Key Point. You'll hear from Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh we've been speaking to, and portions of that interview that you saw with Kemini Amano. Now, this morning as well, earlier in the week, the Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Akuritinga Ayene, gave an update on the oral cases. This time around, Bernard Entwe-Boasiako was again, and the directors of Wontumi Farms are expected to face charges over alleged state losses exceeding 24 million Ghana cedis. Now, the investigations have revealed that that company applied for a loan before registration, submitted forged documents, and failed to implement the project. Also, Percival Kofi Akpaloo of the Liberal Party of Ghana, LPG, and some associated entities will also face prosecution for allegedly diverting some Cocoa Board contract funds, including allegations of forgery. We'll talk about it this morning here on Key Point. So stay with us. And there is another matter as well that over the last at least 72 hours, it's been a matter of a talking point. The Bank of Ghana has dismissed claims of losses from the gold operations in 2025, at least the first 9 months, describing them as speculative and premature. This was captured in the International Monetary Fund's Fifth Review report. The central bank is undergoing, says, its annual external audit. Well, this is what the IMF captured in their report, which we will be getting into. But the Bank of Ghana says its audited financial statements, including all relevant disclosures, will be published next year in line with statutory requirements. So the Gold Board also responded to this said $240 million that IMF captured in their report, that as a result of the gold operations has been a loss. Well, we have a conversation this morning on this matter, especially because it borders on the next phase of this entire policy, gold trading, and then also the metanomics that we are engaged in and using a currency to back our economic development and also the strength of the currency. We'll have a broader conversation on this matter, and then also going into the future, whether or not the Bank of Ghana will be involved in this process. If they are not involved in this process, again, as we are picking some reports, if they are out of the entire process, then what happens? And Gold Board takes over the entire process. How's it going to play out? Will it deal with the said losses we're talking about? It's a big conversation we'll have this morning. So stay with us here. As always, we're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. We're on the Voice of London radio in the heart of the city of London, and Voice of London television as well. After this quick break, we come with Poll Tracker. And this time we're sinking our teeth into Musa Dankwa, the latest we put out this week. It's just a little over a month. The NPP would go to the polls to elect their flag bearer on the 31st of January 2026. Today is the 27th. Just a little over a month, they'll do that. Musa Dankwa has something in that regard. He's going to be joining us in the studio. In fact, he's just being made up right now. We'll be back after this quick break. We'll settle in for the Poll Tracker. Stay with us. Welcome.
In the beginning, life feels heavy. But then, hope arrives. Star 446 hash saves you in the Dewa Chop Money draw at 10 a.m.
Congratulations!
Give your dream a chance. Even better, like life, Dewa 539 gives another chance for those who miss their morning Chop Money draw to get lucky in the daily Dewa Rush Hour draw at 1:30 p.m.
Play every day.
And you may draw no social life. Dial star 446 hash. Nika Dewa 539 direct lotto no. Next 7 o'clock and you may be
24 hours, 3 daily draws at 10 a.m., 1:30 p.m. and 7 p.m. Dewa 539 is designed to save you in the moments that matter most. Play every day, win every day. Dewa, have fun.
In Ghana, our gold is more than a resource. It's our pride. And at Gold Board Jewelry, we celebrate that pride every day with craftsmanship that reflects who we are as Ghanaians. Introducing the Gold Board Jewelry Gold Tablet. Pure, certified, proudly Ghanaian gold. The best part, when you buy a Gold Board Jewelry tablet, you own it. You keep your gold with you, not with us. It's more than a jewelry. It's a smart investment for every Ghanaian who wants to secure their future. Gold Board Jewelry Gold Tablet. Own your gold. Own your future.
I love President Charcoal. Why?
When there are so many other charcoal toothpaste.
That's both charcoal and lemon.
Oh, does it?
Yes, look right here.
Yes, Pepsodent Charcoal has 2 of nature's powerful whitening ingredients. With the power of activated charcoal and lemon essence, it removes stains and whitens teeth naturally.
Convinced?
Well, I am. Just look at your beautiful Pepsodent smiles.
For naturally whiter teeth, Pepsodent Charcoal.
Pepsodent.
No matter where we wander, Africa always calls us home. And here in Ghana, Stanbic Corporate and Investment Banking, together with clients like Gensa Energy and Goldfields, is driving sustainable growth.
The transition from fossil fuel to cleaner energy is quite imperative for the growth of a continent that we call home.
We want to contribute to delivering affordable gas for industrialization in Africa.
Stanbic is a bank that is focused on impacting lives, and Gensa has the same vision and mission.
Having a reliable source of power has helped our business and our operations in a significant way.
At Stanbic Bank, we bring businesses together, empower communities, and invest in the next generation. Stanbic Corporate and Investment Banking, driving growth, creating impact.
We all play differently. Some live for the thrill, some play chill. But it's the emotions that unite us. Bets for everyone. Reveal yourself. 1xBet.
In Ghana, our gold is more than a resource. It's our pride. And at Gold Board Jewelry, we celebrate that pride every day with craftsmanship that reflects who we are as Ghanaians. Introducing the Gold Board Jewelry Gold Tablet. Pure, certified, proudly Ghanaian gold. The best part, when you buy a Gold Board Jewelry tablet, you own it. You keep your gold with you, not with us. It's more than a jewelry. It's a smart investment for every Ghanaian who wants to secure their future. Gold Board Jewelry Gold Tablet. Own your gold. Own your future.
Kids, free to play.
Sponsored by Flora Tissues, Top Choco,
Narrow Soft Drinks.
This December, Accra doesn't just party, we shut the year down. The
Big Hotel. Now, the date is the 28th of December this year. 2025, we all have a testimony. We are survivors. We have made it this far. Come down in your white, all white, with the sandwich vibe, and let's have a small time. Now, let me say this. Tickets are running super fast. It could be brutal. 3FM All White Party. Here in Chicago.
3FM All White Beach Party. Sponsored by Blue.
Welcome back. This is Key Point on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. We're on the Voice of London radio in the heart of the City of London and Voice of London television as well. And let's say good morning to our people listening to us all across the world and a number of radio stations across the country as well. Welcome to Poll Tracker. This is the last Poll Tracker for the year 2025. How time flies. Well, this is the last show. The last show of Key Point for the year 2025. That's how far the Lord has brought us. We want to say thank you to you for staying with us every step of the way. But welcome. This Poll Tracker is a segment that we introduced on the show this year to ensure that we have data-driven conversation as well as part of the entire package that we present to you. And thank you for the tremendous feedback and the endorsement of this part of the show. We're going to continue next year, much bigger and better. That's a promise to you. But it's data-driven conversation that borders on the economy, politics, the environment, anything that's of concern to you, the Ghanaian people, captured in data. You'll find it discussed here on the Poll Tracker. This morning, who wins the 2026 NPP primaries? That's the presidential primaries. That's the question that Global Info Analytics asked the people that they polled. This is the last for the year, but not the last before the presidential primary on the 31st of January 2026. I'll be finding out from the man behind the polls whether, in fact, how many polls we should expect before January 31. But in a little over a month away from now, which is maybe some 35 days from today, all things being equal, the NPP will go to the polls to elect the flag bearer to lead their campaign into election 2028. Today, the 27th, add that, you see it. Musa Dankwa went around the country, and this is how the picture looks like. The sample size, the people that he engaged. In fact, questions have been asked as to whether it is representative enough, because looking at the number of NPP delegates, was some 3,521 people that he polled be representative and reflective of the views, concerns, aspirations, expectations, opinions of the people. Confidence level, he says 99%. That if that election was held today, says he's confident, 99%. This, what I'm going to show you was going to be the outcome. A margin of error of a little over 2%, plus or minus. This is the education level of the people that he polled. We're going to put that on the screen right now. Tertiary, senior high school, and then you have no formal education, that's about 10%. And then also you have the junior high schools. Gender, that is it. And how things look like right now. And this is the question that he asked likely voters. This is the December poll. We took the December poll because last month, in the month of November, there was also another poll, which a lot has changed with what you're seeing in December now. Then the December poll, the number of persons that he polled, 45% of the likely voters said that if elections were held today, their favorite is Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. That is short of the 50+1, by the way. Just keep that in mind. Kennedy Ohene Japan, 31%. That's a very impressive appreciation from November, and we'll show you. And then 3% for Dr. Brian Acheampong. He would have to explain to me what this 0% really means, because these people have been going around the country. So what is 0%? But the man is here himself. What we are seeing is just percentages. Absolutely. Percentages with bar graphs on it, but there's a message behind every bar that you see, and every statistic or percentage that you see, and every picture that you see on this board. Musa Dankwa is Executive Director and Lead Researcher for Global Info Analytics. He's joining us in the studio. Musa Dankwa, it's always good to have you. Good morning.
Good morning, Alfred.
Thank you for making the time to be here.
It's my pleasure.
It's the last show of the year, 2025. How's the year been for you?
It's been very hectic, very busy, especially when we didn't plan to do MPP primaries around this time.
True.
So it has forced us to kind of front load our budget on CSR, which is what we use to fund this program. So it's kind of destabilized our finances a bit, but we are committed to doing.
So you use CSR funding to do
this?
Yes.
We earn money from corporate clients and other people who want to do personal research, which we don't publish. And from that funding, we are able to fund some of these things. And also, we don't do it as a full cost because these are internal costs. We don't put markup on it. So we are able to afford it in the field. When you come to us for the same data, it will cost you probably 10 times more.
I see, 10 times more than the money you use to do this for free for people.
Yes.
But because that was one of the questions I was going to ask you, where you get your money from. Where do you get the money from to do all this?
Actually, we have a bit of information on our corporate website where we tell you who our clientele are.
I see.
And those clientele are not small sole trader businesses. They are corporate clients.
So none of these persons are funding you?
No.
Nobody's giving you money to do this?
Absolutely not.
Really?
No.
I see.
No.
How do you pay your staff?
From what I've told you, we have budget. We pay salaries. We have about 15 people in the office and about 300 and something people in the field. Those are volunteers. We don't pay them on a regular basis. We pay them as and when there's an assignment. So it's much easier for us to deal with a small number of people in the head office, whereas when the job comes in the field, we pay them on pay-as-you-go basis.
I'm asking you these questions, not of my own.
I know.
Dr. Brian Acheampong has been asking these questions of you.
I'm sure he knows the answer, but he doesn't want to be...
He knows the answer.
He knows the answer. He knows the answer.
The answer to the questions he's asking?
Yes.
As to how you are funded?
Yes.
And why are you so interested in NPP flag bearership?
No, we're interested in everything that is public opinion and polls. And look, there are global clients who wants to know who will be Ghana's president in 2029. And that starts from here. Who will lead MPP first?
Okay.
And then who will lead NDC? And then from that crop, you will determine who will win the 2029 elections, the 2028 elections. So there are global clients who want to know. So if they don't want to know, fine. There are those who want to know, and we are serving their interest.
Interesting. I see. And I'm sure you heard him ask those questions of you. So that's why. But then again, there are others who are interested in this. So you've answered it. But look at this. I want to understand the difference between likely voters and committed voters. What does this mean?
Okay, let's go back.
Okay.
When you talk about the likely voters, these people are likely to show up on election day to vote. Those who said they are voting for Bawumia 45%, they will show up. Those who said Kennedy 31%, they will show up. Those who are saying Brian 3% will show up. Those who are saying it was 0.4 or so for this gentleman, they will show up.
I mean, Dr. Yao said the truth.
Yeah, it's 0.4, but we didn't want to run out the numbers to the
so yeah,
decimal
I
numbers.
was looking at 0%. That's
We've put out the further details that gives the entire or specific numbers, frequency, and the
they have been going around the country. They have their billboards around. I see
the numbers are quite
that.
negligible. That's why it is like that.
Community Japan, you also put 0% there. Why?
I don't put. That's the response we got from the delegates.
Really?
Yes.
So this is a delegate poll?
Delegate polls, yes.
You spoke to this number of delegates, 3,521.
Absolutely.
How representative is this? Taking into consideration the total number of delegates who are going to show up on the day, all things being equal, that's January 31.
Alfred, when you are sick and you go to the hospital, and they want to see if you have malaria or whatever it is, they draw a small, tiny blood from you. It's a sample, called a sample, isn't it?
Right.
And from that sample, they can determine what's wrong with you.
Okay.
They don't need to take the entire blood from your system to check what is wrong with you. Because the blood they've taken comes from the entire system.
Right.
Again, if you prepare a soup and the soup is ready to be eaten, you don't take a big bowl to drink to see how the soup tastes. A teaspoon will be sufficient to tell you how the food. So this is a statistical tool that has been used over centuries, and that works. For me, what people should be asking for is what is your confidence level and your margin of error. That is where the attention must go to, and not the absolute numbers that they are looking for.
You say you are 99% confident.
Yeah, that if the election was held today.
If election, this NPP presidential primary was held today,
yeah,
this will be this
subject to this undecided and undisclosed, which we would be able to deal with if we were doing predictions based on these numbers.
I see. We'll come to this because questions have been asked about this as well. But let me welcome as well while we do this, and we'll get straight into it. Professor Godfred Bobkin is a professor of finance at the University of Ghana, Legon, specifically the business school. Professor Godfred Bobkin, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, good morning. Merry Christmas.
Many happy returns
Merry
to you.
Christmas to our cherished listeners and viewers. It's nice to be here as we end the year by God's grace. Yeah.
Wonderful.
And I'm happy seeing my boss here.
Yeah, you just roped him in. So let me just say, Martin Luther Kpebu.
Yes, sir.
Yes, he's here with us. Council, good morning. Thank you.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Okanse. It's good to be here once again. You know,
another fedora.
Yes. So now, who taught us last week? There is a club fedora. Maybe now she show us the various clubs. Since we know there's somebody who knows better.
That's right.
Yes. So once again, it's good to be on Ghana's #1 talk show, right? Yes. Undisputed, unparalleled, yes. We've shattered all the charts, right? Yeah, for the past 3 years. And so we are thankful to the people of Ghana for seeing the right channel, right? The right station to follow, because here we are unfiltered. Nobody tells us what to say, etc. You see, when we first started that, Ofori-Atta wasn't up to it. He hadn't been doing this work for decades as other stations had been allowing people to say. Eventually, you saw Kweku Rikitshagan came here and said, look, Ofori-Atta, he was the one who brought Ofori-Atta and Togbe Afede to learn from the big boys. Meanwhile, we're told that, Ofori-Atta had been issuing bonds for decades. Meanwhile, when did we start going to the bonds market? One big lie that through this platform, we're able to break that myth, the lies that he was already accomplished, he was issuing bonds. Meanwhile, they couldn't show where. Right? When he had learned as an apprentice under Kweku Rikitshagan's time as Deputy Finance Minister. Many other things. So this is the right channel. So thank you for making this program the biggest. So in the same way, we will thank Sofo Akufo Yasantua for all the good work. Yes, more fire Yasantua. The same to Domahini. The same to Togbe Afede, Togbe Akpekaka, right? I'm going to improve my ever very soon. Next week you will hear more ever from me, right? And all and men,
to me.
Yes, men above 40, please keep checking your prostate health. Very, very important. We don't want to lose you needlessly. The people in the nation are our best resource. So once you're above 40, please, it doesn't cost much to check, right? And then A reminder to Kisi Ejabi as he exits the OSP, we will need to get into that 52.5 billion matter, that money that moved from the GCB account to unknown sources. To unknown sources, that's the petition that Mike Kofi Aflu, the chairman of the Financial Intelligence Center, presented to the Office of the Special Prosecutor.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Council, for this. And we're back into, because all of this you talked about fits into governance, right? It fits into the concerns of people. And today, this focus on the NPP primaries on January 31. Musa Dankwa, you were just explaining what the likely voters are and who the committed voters are. Please.
If you go to the likely voters model, here, any delegate who say he would vote, whether he's voting for Bawumia, Kennedy, Brian, Edichum, or Ajapon, his voice is counted.
Right.
As well as those who say, I'm not disclosing to you. He will show up, but he hasn't said who he will vote for.
Right.
And then those who say, we are undecided, their views are there. So those who say, I will not vote, I won't show up to vote, their views has been removed from the analysis, but there's no point counting them in, but they won't come.
Okay, I see. But then again, why do you always have this population of undisclosed voters, undecided voters being that huge, 11%, 9%? It's capable of making a lot of impact and changes to the first two, especially.
Absolutely. Remember, this is just the headline polls. We haven't done anything to these numbers. Those who say they will not tell us who they are voting for, it's 11% of the 10 sample that we engaged.
Right.
And those who said they were undecided, it's 9%. The question is, realistically, how many of these undisclosed will vote for either of these candidates? It's for you to determine if we were doing predictions. We are not there yet. So we've let the numbers as they are. And then be able to realistically say, okay, those who are undecided, how would they vote? How would the split happen? Then you make that decision based on the modeling of certain answers you got from the other earlier questions. So we would get to that point in the final poll, which is in January. Then we can model the outcome based on what we understand the race to be.
I see. Now, so what is the committed voters? Who are
here?
these?
People who were brave.
To stick out their neck.
Stick out their neck.
Openly say, this is the person I'm going to vote for.
Absolutely. When you use those people as the frame to do the analysis, the computation, then you realize that a lot more are opting for Bawumia proportionately.
Right.
Than Kennedy, than the rest. Now, the trick here is that if we didn't have the undisclosed voters, this could have been the outcome of the elections.
Right. Okay. So if we didn't have this bracket of
just this one.
This undisclosed.
Yes.
11%.
Yes.
You would have gone with
this one. You know why?
Tell me.
Because in a race, the undecided normally break in the way the race is shaped.
True.
People who are undecided will not make somebody losing a winner. Only when we have a scandal on the leading candidate, that suddenly becomes new information they have to process. And that could let a leader lose the momentum, and those who are undecided may go to the challenger. Once there is no scandal, they will break the way the race looks.
I see. So and that could actually make a big difference, because look, if you're adding the 11% we saw there to any of the two,
yes,
it could make a big difference. It could widen this gap. If it's added to this, it could actually then
create a situation. Now, what we are seeing is that in an unlikely scenario based on this data, we don't see Kennedy overtake Bawumia in the first round.
So what you're saying is, if this committed voters module is what we're going with,
yeah,
Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia,
yes,
we'll take it.
Yes.
But then there's undisclosed.
Undisclosed. The funny thing about those undisclosed is that some of them had in the past voted for Bawumia.
But now they don't want to disclose.
They say they undisclosed.
I see.
So will they actually stick with him, or they will abandon him? $1 million question.
Interesting. So if I get the sense, you have the profile of all these delegates you engage every now and then. So you're able to know who they said they will vote, who they voted for in
last
the past.
time. Yes.
and why they are saying they are undisclosed now. So you see the changes
we have a bit of idea. Look, there are a lot of data we have. For example, if you look at the data we put out, we ask them how favorable or unfavorable do you see a candidate?
Right.
Or favorable, unfavorable. At the moment, on favorability rating, Bawumia is 92% overall.
Overall?
Plus
92%
favorable rating. Ken is 85.
92, 85.
85. That tells you that somebody is the lead based on favorability rating.
Right. I see, but 92, 85 is close. It's not, but then again,
that's why the election will be closer than last time.
Because in 2023, I think it was quite clear. But then again, now we know the difference between the committed and the likely.
Yes.
Because the likely, the difference there is the undisclosed voters. That's what makes the big difference in the likely voters. What we are seeing right now is the month-of-month change. Because this month-of-month change is important to understand the changing dynamics of the run-up to this presidential primary.
Yes.
The ash bar that we have on the board represents the November polls that Musa Dankwa did. The blue bar represents the outcome of the December poll based on the likely voters. In November, the delegates you polled said 43% of them said if the elections were then likely voters, they were going to vote for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Fast forward to December, it increased to 45. So he had a 2 percentage point advantage. But if you look at Kennedy Onyema Agyapong, in November, 18% of the likely voters said they were going to vote for him. Now look at December, 31%. 31%. That's about a 13 percentage point jump. As against a 2 percentage point jump for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia between last month and this month. But then you see Dr. Bayani Champon as well now reducing in numbers. And then the others that you keep putting 0% there, they are there. But then the not undisclosed or not disclosed in this one has also reduced from last month to this month, 15% to 11%. But we don't see that directly reflect. So where is Kennedy Onyema Agyapong getting the 13 percentage points increase from?
Now you see that the undecided dropped by 10 points. Undecided.
Yes. 19 to 9%.
9%.
Yeah.
10 points. The not disclosed from 15 to 11. That's 4 points.
True.
So if you add the 4 plus 10, 14.
True.
Brian dropped 2%.
That's 16.
So you can see that Kennedy got 13. Bawumia got 15. And slightly little movement around here that you can see.
Interesting. So the big chunk of this difference was shared between Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and Kennedy Agyapong. But obviously, Kennedy Agyapong had the bigger share of the pie.
Yeah.
And then you had the other two as well.
Yes.
Chipping in. But now what that means is, if what you're saying is anything to go by, the undecided voters are now deciding, or they actually in December decided to come out and say, well, now we've decided this is the person we're going with, Kennedy Agyapong.
Yes.
So Kennedy Agyapong benefited
hugely
from the undecided who have now decided. So from 19% to the 9%.
Yes.
Do you see this trajectory continuing of the undecided now deciding to as it were, go for Kennedy Agyapong?
I mean, the projection at the moment is that, from my analysis, we may have hit real bottom for undecided. They will remain at this high probably by the next poll. What we want to see is whether the not disclosed would move heavily towards the candidate. Now, I was hoping that the undisclosed rather would reduce significantly compared to undecided.
Right.
But that just came down marginally, which made me believe that I can't bet that all they're not disclosing are Kenyan voters.
Right. You can't put your neck on that.
Exactly. Because even among people who are saying they are not disclosing, some of them had in the past voted for Bawumia before.
Oh, right.
So
and now they are switching.
No, now I think they are not disclosing.
They are not disclosing.
So are they not disclosing for Bawumia or for Kennedy? I can't tell. I may have to use other means to see what their thinking is.
Well, the Honorable Andy Apiakubi is joining us as well. He is a former member of parliament for the Asachachim North constituency. He's a private legal practitioner. He also is in good standing. Honorable Andy Apiakubi.
I have paid. In fact, Martin will bear me out. I have paid my subscription for a year.
Honorable Andy Apiakubi, good morning. Welcome.
He will disclose the identity of the businessman as the last Saturday of the year. The businessman who carried money in Ghana must go. Plenty. The last Saturday of the right? That's for the program.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, and Merry Christmas to you all and my colleagues and friends in the house, and also to the generality of the Ghanaian citizenry.
Perfect. It's good to have you. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. And we're on a path which, I know you've been following for quite a while now. Let's look at this. What is the neighbor's effect? What does it mean?
And this is a model that was used in America in 2016.
Right.
Remember, Trump's voters were very cagey, not open, and you can't really tell what they want to do on election day.
Yeah.
That's why many pollsters got it wrong, because the people are not telling them the truth. Just like we're experiencing not disclosed. It's the same phenomenon. So what we try to do is to ask you as a delegate, who do you think your friend delegate is voting for?
Right. Okay.
You are a delegate. Who do you think your friend delegates are voting for?
I see. Because they have conversations.
Yeah, conversations.
They obviously would have
absolutely
then sat to decide who they are voting for.
Absolutely.
Okay.
When you do that, you see Bawumia losses what? 1%.
Just about that, yes. True.
So, but Ken lost 3%.
True.
From 31 to 28.
True.
Brian lost what? Under 1%.
True.
The rest, let's not probably mention them. So this tells me that the race, people believe that Bawumia is going to win.
Okay. But then again, he hasn't crossed the 50,
but
50 plus 1.
When you do that neighbor's effect, he suffered only 1% drop.
Okay.
Kennedy suffered how many?
3%.
3%.
I see. But you at this point, with what you're saying now, why would you want to stick your neck out this way?
No, because most people are saying that they believe their fellow delegates are voting for Bawumia.
Oh, right. So then it adds up to what we have seen previously.
Exactly. It confirms, even though they all decline in a way, but Kennedy declined a lot more than Bawumia did. So what they are saying to us is that they believe their friend delegates are voting for Bawumia much more than Kennedy.
I see. But then again, you see that as well. The numbers haven't changed for these two.
No.
And that is where you did a possible runoff situation.
Yes.
And this is important because, taking into consideration what we have seen in the previous slides, none of them is crossing 50 plus 1.
No.
So you assume that all things being equal, based on your own polls, if there's a runoff, this is it.
This is what they are telling us. Among those we spoke to, Bawumia goes to 47%, 2-point increase. Kennedy goes to 32%, 1-point increase above the main race. Then you have undisclosed, now it's about 11%. Undecided, 10%. Now, where we are, if we assume that Kennedy will win all the undisclosed,
I see.
If you assume that, he goes to what?
43%.
Bawumia is hovering at 47.
Yeah.
He needs just 3% of the 10.
That is the undecided.
Yes.
To cross that 50.
If the next poll remains like this, then we can fairly make predictions based on that number.
I see. You talk about the next poll. How many polls are you going to do before January 31?
What we're doing is that we're going to be doing weekly polls, but we won't put them out. Every week from next year, we'll do every week a number of delegates and tracking them to the last 4 weeks. And then we'll publish the combined result of the 4 polls we'll be doing before the primary, so that we will not be taken by surprise.
I see. So the weekly one is going to be for your own personal.
Yes, for how yes, it won't come out.
You obviously share with me. So, but yeah, that's just by the way. Let me welcome Justice Abdullahi, he's private legal practitioner. Justice Abdullahi, good morning.
Yes, good
thank
morning,
you for
Alfred.
joining us.
And thank you for accepting me being late.
On the last Saturday of the year. Thank you. Thank you so much.
The neighbor effect.
Yeah, neighbor effect. That's right. So if you have to pull the two of them, to give you an idea of
I
what's
think
happening.
my brother will win because he was earlier in time in the neighborhood.
Absolutely. Great. Now, the Honorable Andy Appiah Kubi, I'll start off with you for good reason. Just brief comments on this. What we have just run through, what you're looking at, partly because your blood is red, blue, and white. Okay. How is that looking for you?
Well, to me, all the time, I don't underrate the value of research. So I take research very seriously. And this is an indication that we need to work harder. And indeed, the two candidates who are leading, they must work extra hard to be able to do the numbers. I think that, yes, generally, Dr. Bawumia appears to be in the lead, but it is not settled yet because he hasn't crossed the 50% threshold. So it is still possible that another candidate can do better. When I look at the undecided figures, I still think that it is possible to even cause an upset. And we still have one month to go. So 1 month of intensive campaign and mobilizing the undecided voters and the not disclosed voters, I am very sure that a surprise can emerge. A surprise candidate in Dr. Brian Champon is also a possibility.
A surprise candidate in Dr. Brian Champon.
The interesting thing is that there is a likelihood of a second round. And if that second round comes, then no one of the three will be confident that I'm getting it. Because any one of the three can get it. Because particularly the person who comes second may be in the pole position to mobilize the others in pursuit of the 50% plus one. So it is not settled yet. And it is interesting because the incumbency advantage is not there. The incumbency disadvantage is there.
True.
I hope you get
Yes,
me.
I get it.
Because you cannot come from an administration that is perceived not to have done well and want to exonerate yourself from all wrongdoing. No, we can't do that. So the baggage will still be with you, and I'm sure that the delegates are mindful of that. Because at the last primaries, we're looking at 60, 65 numbers. Now we're talking 43. So it means that something has happened. And 1 month of political time is not easy time. So I'm sure that something drastic can happen and the dynamics might change.
And you say you see a surprise candidate?
I see a surprise candidate because most of the people who cannot disclose and most of the people who are undecided, I am very sure that those who are not disclosing, because I am from Dr. Brian Champon's camp, and I'm sure based on our profiling, which is not the results of the survey, I'm sure most of the undecided are with Dr. Brian Champon. So let's assume that he becomes second or third.
Yeah.
He will become the decider. Either he himself will decide for, or he will indicate where the votes will go.
So that's open disclosure. He's in Dr. Brian Champon's camp.
Oh, yes.
That one we know. Absolutely.
I mean, you know that I am always that kind of person.
Absolutely.
I have always been. All of them have called me, and I have indicated to all of them that I support Dr. Brian Champon. And this is not a secret. Everybody knows that.
Perfect. Indeed. I know. I don't think Prof.
No, Martin knows it. I told him the last time.
Professor Boko, did you know this? Except that what?
Brian Champon, his support for violence, they will not hand over. He will never come near this throne. Never.
Why are you able to? You stick out your neck to make this.
No, unfortunately, you don't have the benefit of choosing. So I'm sure it remains your opinion.
He says you're not a delegate.
I am voting. I'm a delegate. So,
but the delegates are listening to us. As
I can make a difference. And
I can also make a difference. The delegates are listening. When Akufo-Addo, you see, Etiwa, when he went and glamorized violence, you see, the violence he glamorized.
But eventually he became president.
We thought he had changed. And you saw the violence he unleashed on us. The haircuts, unparalleled haircuts. People died. Dr. Ejekun, so many people died. That was more violent than anything.
I think we are reading the research report.
Yes. So we're saying that Brian Champo, no, it's not digression. So once Brian Champo is shown that he's that violent, Ghanaians will not make that mistake.
I don't know the fetish that you make of.
There are better
I don't know the fetish that comes to him upon mention of President Akufo-Addo's name.
And we'll come to how he allowed Ofori-Atta to run out of Ghana.
Hold on.
We'll come to how Akufo-Addo allowed Ofori-Atta to run out of Ghana.
But you have been consistent that, the NPP would only get your vote back if Patrick Boama or Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah is on the ticket.
Yes, and that's in 2032. As for 2028, look, my brother, it's a lost cause. We are not kids. On what grounds? The money they've looted. Why are we foolish? But me too, I can also become president.
You are part of.
You know, I also become president.
You know this is an allegation.
You would have to yet. The cases in court are clear.
The cases are the cases.
The money they've looted. Why has Ofori-Atta fled? Why has he fled? If he was innocent, why wouldn't he sit here? Why would you stay in Ghana?
Is he the only person who is not in the country?
Let's put it all together.
So there's no way. 2028, I don't see MPP making any winning the elections. No, then it will suggest that we don't have human resources in Ghana. Abdullah can become president. Professor Bopin is here. How can we vote for MPP? Why would we vote for MPP in 2028? It's a no-brainer.
Martin, are you not there?
Yes, so I can also do it. Exactly. And so you can also, provided you are not on the ticket of the MPP. So we are sitting here, we also can perform the job. So what would make me want to vote for Bawumia? 2028, no.
So you're still going with
Patrick Boama for 2032. Not 2028. As for 2028, let's be realistic. The thing belongs to NDC. 1.7 million votes.
How do you say that they're so confident?
So let's be scientific this way. Look, with JM having gotten close to, JM gave him Bawumia a gap. Bawumia asked for a gap. That the only thing left with is a gap. Let's give them a gap. And of course, JM gave him a gap, a very wide gap, about 1.7 million votes. Now, if you look at our electoral cycle and the way human beings, we are pragmatic. We are not idealistic. So in 4 years, unless the NDC government loots us far more than MPP looted, there's no chance that we'll vote MPP back in 4 years. No, unless the NDC loots well beyond Kennedy Apon's statement that MPP was looting like there was no tomorrow. So maybe they should be looting like there's no tomorrow to the highest degree, super looting.
Would that not be concerning that, we go into an election and our only measure of who is going to lead us is who has looted less?
Yes, because that's common sense. Because look, Mr. Okanse, every government comes and will do some programs in agric. Right? Every government, like in the previous regime, they tried their planting for food and jobs, except that it wasn't revolutionary enough, like what this current administration is doing with Nkokon Kitinkiti. That's a Feed Ghana project. Feed Ghana, the research agenda, right? So the previous government wasn't as daring, wasn't as bold, wasn't as revolutionary as this current government, right? Go to education. The current government is continuing. These policies
have just started.
Yeah, right.
They have just started.
Yes, but this time, JM knows that if he dare not fail, he himself knows that no, there's no space for failure. So it must only be a win, right? So you look at the sense of urgency, the vigor, etc. You see that this administration is far more purpose than Akufo-Addo. Akufo-Addo came in with free SHS. But free SHS, yes, and I'm a lifelong ambassador of free SHS. It's laudable, but it wasn't far-reaching enough. Agriculture was a low-hanging fruit where they were supposed to ramp up. And actually, that was the message he brought. And that's one of the reasons I voted for him, that they were going to ramp up a revolutionary agriculture that would deliver jobs and jobs and jobs. And then they did the opposite. right?
Yes, perfect.
Yes. So I mean, so the whole thing is that when we say the one who loots far less will be the one to win, it makes sense. In other words, that's the one who keeps the public purse. In the Akufo-Addo's regime, we lost the public purse. It ended up in his pocket, he and his family.
But you said, you promised us that you were going to take him on.
Yes.
You still have a 3-year period.
Yeah, now 2 years left. 1 year is gone.
Yes.
This is December. 2 years. Yes, hopefully, because, you see, I mean, anybody knowing, if you are pragmatic, I can take Akufo-Addo on well when Kissi Ejabi is no longer special prosecutor. Kissi Ejabi is already shown that he's playing for them.
You're bringing conditions to the promise you made.
Yes, at that time, I didn't know Kissi Ejabi was going to play for Akufo-Addo. You saw how he started the SML
but you made the
investigation.
promise that you would. But there are other ways.
Yes, but I want the criminal one. But you see how Kissi Ejabi allowed Ofori-Atta to flee before he started investigations. If I send Akufo-Addo's petition, that's the same thing.
No, but there are other ways to still.
Yes,
you can bring a civil action.
Yes, but I just hope.
Under Article 41.
Yes, but you know something? Thankfully, under Section 15 of the OSP Act, once I presented my petition, the president has 7 days to send it to the Chief Justice. The 7 days have elapsed. It elapsed on 17th of December because I presented it on 11th.
Okay.
The Chief Justice, also under Section 15 of the same law, has 30 days. After the 30 days, I pray that he will make a prima facie determination that Kissi must answer some of the charges. And once that is made, within 2 weeks, 14 days, they must set up a committee, and the committee must finish its work, like the way for the Poaman committee. They must finish within 90 days. So all I'm saying in one word is that in the next 4 to 5 months, if my petition works, Kissi Ejabi should be out. So when we get a better manager of the OSP, then I can put in my petition. Because
but then again, that's what I'm saying, that the promise that you made was not conditional. It was an unconditional
don't worry. In
promise
4 to 5 months,
that
we'll
you
get
said
to know.
you will take up and pursue
the case is there.
the former President Akufo-Addo
Yes.
on matters of, as you
I've
allege,
not hidden
corruption.
it. I've not hidden. It's the case of Manasseh Azure's investigation, the 500 million, what do you call it, contract.
You are
Later
waiting for another special prosecutor.
Yes, because
until that is done, then what?
We are just waiting for about 4 or 5 months to know whether Kissi
So
will
if it
leave
doesn't
or not.
happen, then what?
And then I have to review, but whichever way, at least, hopefully, there will be some reforms. Because even the president said the office should show relevance. So assuming Kissi doesn't even leave, I expect that in the middle of the road, there will be reforms. So that henceforth, when you send a petition to the office, Kissi Ejabi alone will not sit on it like what he did to the SML and allow the Ofori-Atta to run away from this country. Okay. That won't happen again. Right. So that when I present my petition, we expect that under a new law, it will go to a committee. Kissi Ejabi sat on several petitions.
So that's all I needed from you. The people who are watching keep reminding me about that promise that you made.
And the case is there. Manasseh is alive. Manasseh is my witness. The fumigation contract.
So the countdown is on.
Yes. So in 4 to 5 months, we'll know.
But then, in running up, Professor Bob can bring you in. As for Lamatik Bebo has been consistent. He's a lifelong ambassador for Free SHS. But he says he would only look the MPP's way if Patrick Buama and Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah become flag bearer and running mate. Either way.
One of them for flag bearer. Then another candidate from the north.
I see.
Yeah, it's become conventional.
Okay, great. Thank you. Prof, you see, I'm not drawing you into the politics of things, right? But you see the economy still being the bigger decider for 2028, as we saw in 2024.
Well, thank you very much. I understand GDP very well and associated figures. I've not followed the poll that much and all of that, but reflecting on your question, I think the economy will still dominate. At least in the last couple of rounds of the survey CDD does.
The Afrobarometer.
Yes, Afrobarometer consistently put the economy more or less at the forefront. And so far, if you look at this year, the economy has not responded optimally when it comes to job creation. We've made some progress and all of that, but we are not in the zone where the economy is delivering sufficient jobs, decent jobs, especially in the formal wage economy. unemployment is still a big issue, even though the latest release indicate that it is marginally and all of that. So the economy will continue to dominate. It's not only Ghana. We have a youthful population. Between now and 2030 or 2040, our population will be 45 million. 30% of that population will be less than 30 years. They probably would have finished free senior high school, half-baked, enter the universities, and will be looking for jobs that probably exist in the textbooks and all of that. So those are the issues that will be confronted. If you look at the data, the World Bank told us that between 2012 and 2023, this economy on net basis has created just around 250,000 jobs. Within that same space, 2.7 million Ghanaians have entered the labor market annually. Close to 500,000 Ghanaians enter the labor market annually. So the economy will continue to dominate, especially when we are talking about job-rich growth. So for Ghana, and that is the reason why we should be careful when we celebrate GDP growth. Okay, we have moved beyond that.
GDP.
We are looking for job-rich growth. We are looking for inclusive growth because we are sitting on a time bomb. Okay. And in fact, it's the reason why you see a lot of countries have moved beyond glorifying GDP. And in fact, others even call GDP as gross domestic product. Problem, not product. Gross domestic problem. Okay, so we need to understand our population demographics. We need, in fact, across the world, by 2050, we are told that 1 out of every 5 working population will be an African. Okay.
Yeah.
And the rest of them. So if you look at the dynamics, look, the stress is just too much. Some years back, decades back, we felt that by going to school was one way of crossing the poverty line, even if you didn't see the line. Now people have finished school, some 5 years and the rest of them. And that's why you see our politics is becoming violent because it appears it's the only way you can get something now, even if your competence didn't really or couldn't guarantee you that. So the economy will continue to dominate. And I'm sure that is where I see a bit of a challenge with the former vice president because of how the economy performed over the 8 years. And because the trump card had been that he was going to do something about the economy and all of that. So I'm hoping that...
So that's predicate on how the economy will be in 2028, assuming he is elected as flag bearer.
In either way, 2028 is going to be very difficult for the MPP. That is how I see it. If you look at the gap in terms of the vote numbers in 2024, and you compare that to what happened in 2016, and how long it took to close that gap and go into deficit in terms of unless something extraordinary happens, like we say in Ghana, it is not the opposition that wins, it's the incumbent that loses. So a lot will depend on how the current administration manages the economy, especially how they choose the successor to President Mahama and how they manage all of that. But I lean towards a certain philosophy that says that if I had my own way, I would just tell all these headline people, take a back seat. You understand?
You are with Lawyer Martin Kobo on this.
I don't know, but the MPP should forgive me. I mean, this is not my area. I'm just...
Okay.
Allow me, they should allow me to make some mistakes.
You will feel seat, no seat. No. So you live in the economy, so you know...
If all of this is geared towards coming to power, then they should look at it carefully. And all of that, probably ahead of 2028 or so. But
because Jonathan Diapia Kube put his money on Dr. Brian Champong as the unifier, the new face, that kind of person who, will make a difference. And he's not changing his mind anytime soon. You're going with it.
Powerless.
Okay. Gentlemen, let me bring in Justice Abdullahi on this quickly. Just briefly on this.
But I mean, if I may, Honorable, why do you bank your hopes on Brian with the figures he's getting when you confess that you appreciate research better and your candidate is nowhere close to even, I mean,
my hope comes from the undecided members.
but if you put the undecided plus
then he will make a difference.
No,
Then he
let's put it together. How many people are undecided? 9%?
19.
Or 19 now?
No, 9%.
9 now. That's what I hear.
Plus 11.
Plus 11, that's 20. Add it to his. In fact, add all the other ones to his.
No, let's say it's 23 now. We have 1 year, one
more month
to go, and don't discount.
You are working hard.
Don't discount the value of.
So
1
you
month in
actually
politics.
believe, hopefully, being possibly, I mean, with the heart of a
Even if
nurse,
he doesn't.
that from
Remember
20,
you're a lawyer.
with the heart of a nurse, that from 20 you cross 51 in a month.
No.
When
I'm not
it has taken you
that we can
close to a
even-
year.
No. I'm not
But anyway,
suggesting that
yes.
he can even make 51. What I'm suggesting is that
Yes.
if we put all the numbers together and he's able to say
25. Let's make it 25.
Become the second.
Yes.
Or
Actually,
even the third.
from the records.
Listen, or even the third.
Yes.
Is he not going to be the one who will decide who becomes president?
Okay, so
in the
that is,
event
that
he
is
himself
with the
doesn't-
presumption that everyone else remains the same, whilst he gets all the other ones.
Yeah, but
we've seen some movement.
Anyway, let's move.
In fact,
So my whole point
this
is
is
this.
about 3 people, and that's what we see.
Oh, okay. Right. So my whole point is this. Let's look at 2016. John Mahama as against Akufo-Addo. About 1.2 million votes difference. That took JMS out of office. We move on to 2020 election. And the gap was almost negligible between the two sides. Now, this clearly, if you look at the trend from a huge margin to a complete drop, I think it was just about 100,000 difference in the 2020 elections. Now, so about 1 million of those votes vanished. You move to 2024.
Between
the same candidate.
It came to about 500,000. They have it from the 1 million.
From 1 million
to about
over.
500.
Actually, almost a million.
No.
That's in 2016.
The 2016.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Then it came down to about 500.
Good. And then you come to 2024.
Yeah.
Even though Akufo-Addo had left the scene, but so this time you move on. You probably make it party. Now between the same two parties,
the gap.
From a person who lost with 1 million, let's adopt the 1 million vote. Now stretches, in fact, from negativity to making it even, and now jumping to almost 2 million difference between the same candidate, the same political parties. And then you say that in 2028, what happens?
They can lose all this.
Are you saying that the whole 2 million will be vanished or to be halved for MPP or whoever emerges from the MPP side to become a president?
Okay.
I think that is statistically near impossible. Statistically, it's almost impossible.
You're basing just on statistics.
Yes, of course.
A lot happens beyond statistics.
Right.
So you don't want to box yourself into that.
Actually, I would want to box myself in the statistics because everything is about the numbers. And so if there could be other factors that could change that. But clearly, that's why I started from the 2016 elections. So within this space, if this could happen, my whole point is this. It is arguably, in fact, talking to my colleagues and friends in the MPP, their advice was that possibly, if they did not contest the next election, it would be better. Because regardless of what Martin says, right? Regardless of what Martin says, that it will take about a gargantuan looting for the MDC to lose the next election. I do not think that is a possibility happening, regardless of how gargantuan the looting would be. I see this from a realistic perspective, that the next election is a foregone conclusion, particularly when you take into consideration, now I take myself out of the statistical box, to the comments made by Ken over the years about all the people contesting and how those comments would impact. In fact, and the comments that are still coming, insulting the leading candidate, however, whether he wins or not is immaterial. But if your candidate, your most preferred candidate,
you mean Dr. Bawumia?
Yes, is constantly under attack with all kinds of unsavory, unprintable words.
By the closest
person. And either of the two could win. Don't be surprised to lose the next election because the same comment will be played back, whether in your favor or against you. Now, you have consistently attacked everybody in the political space, particularly within the MPP.
You mean
That's Ken. Everyone. Just a couple of weeks ago, Sarah Ajosafo came out with some of those viral attacks on her person and on other women, generalizing it to other women. Then there were other people who brought about the attacks on pastors and other well-meaning individuals within this space. Now you have the candidate himself being under constant attack, being called a liar and all kinds of things. So would you be surprised if tomorrow we bring all these back? In fact, in the last election, those same comments, those same attacks were played back against Dr. Bawumia when Ken and his compatriots kept accusing Dr. Bawumia of superintending over a failed economy, economy that used to be from a dollar rate of about 3 cedis to 16 and 17 cedis, and all kinds of negative comments. So my whole point is this: you can go into these elections with some level of decorum rather than the personality attacks and all of that. Because if you don't want the numbers to go against you, then you should as well guide your words. The kind of things you say are material, because they are the things that, for those of us who sit on the fence, would rely on and vote against you or in your favor. Without any apology. In 2016, I voted for Akufo-Addo because at the time, the elections were just clear that Mahama had superintended over a governance system that was completely failing, with doomsday and corruption almost on daily basis. And so clearly, Akufo-Addo became a preferred candidate. Right. So it was not a surprising thing that he won by 1 million votes. But that ended my vote for Akufo-Addo.
Okay.
And I'm sure most people here would say the same thing. Like my very good friend, Ndia Piakubi, in fact, he would never vote for Akufo-Addo even until the day he dies. If Akufo-Addo was to become...
But the good thing is that he's not going to contest in the election.
Even if he did, even if he were to make any difference. And just imagine, he is coming from within, but more within than any of us here. So, my whole point is that.
But you did not solicit my view.
Because you have been a very good friend. So I know.
Let's round this up, gentlemen.
I'm a very good friend. So
round it up for me.
After all these years, so my whole point is that we should go into this election where, with this mindset that we have to guard what we say, how we say what we say, and project the candidate such that if Ghanaians decide to look other way, just in case JM's election, let's remember that most of the times, the real deciding factors occur in the last year or two before the elections.
True.
And so the first year, usually you don't get much controversies. Second year, things begin to take shape and stabilize. The third year is where all the pressures from stabilizing your roots in government and also, of course, making all the unpopular or sometimes even popular decisions that would get you the next vote.
Thank you.
And so all these things could play a lot of role in deciding whether the current system that we are witnessing will remain the same or go negative.
Perfect. Thank you. Justice Abdullahi Aldis, while we round up, Mr. Dankwa,
yes.
When is the next poll expected to come up?
24th of January.
24th January. That's about almost a month away from now.
Yes.
And why do we have to wait for the next election?
That'll be a week before the election. Trying to determine how the votes should be on the 31st.
Because 24th will be just some...
1 week before the election.
5 days? Yes, sir, about a week.
Yeah.
A week before the elections.
At that point, we could make fair assumptions about the behavior of undecided voters.
Right.
We haven't got much time for them to change. If you allow them long time, within that period, there will be some blind spot and you could be taking...
7 days is enough time to flip someone's mind.
No, but we'll see, remember we'll be tracking the poll from 1st January all the way to the end. Okay. So we'll see the pattern of behavior these people are exhibiting.
But what I will advise you is that leave space for error margin.
Because
there's a possibility of a surprise.
We always have margin of error.
Yes, and I'm assuring you that there is a possibility of a surprise.
2%.
You are banking your hopes on a surprise.
There will be a surprise.
There will be a surprise.
Will go contrary to the expectations of statistics.
And that will not be research.
It cannot be research.
That will not be research.
but then, you see, if you look at it, this is it. And I actually wanted to, it gives us a clear picture of how things are playing out right now. This is it, right? Let's put this on the screen. In terms of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's stronghold.
To the entire north.
Right? Northeast, northern.
Is this based on what?
That's the
strongholds.
Based on what data?
The likely voters. That is the breakdown that you put
So
up.
who did this?
No, I don't think. No, look, what we have right now.
Right.
Ken is only leading in Central Region and Volta Region.
Central and Volta.
Yes. In Ashanti Region, it's a tie in Ashanti Region.
That's
Everywhere else, Bawumia is leading, but not less than 5 points.
I see. That's a very, very interesting play out of event, is it not?
Yeah.
So just Central and Volta.
It's Kennedy leading.
Leading.
And in Ashanti Region, it's tie in Ashanti Region. The rest of the regions, he leads comfortably. Western North, slightly closer, but he's still ahead.
Right. So these are the typical strongholds of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. You see that. Thank you very much, gentlemen. But then you talk about, Abdullahi talked about the aftermath of the poll. You asked a question, will there be unity after the campaign? 89% of respondents said yes.
Yes.
That answers your question. Okay?
But the growing worry is that in the current poll, those who said no has jumped 6%, reflecting the sentiments of delegates from the weeks of campaign and the insult. And that is what they should be worried about.
Interesting. That's what Abdullahi
Unfortunately.
Zidakwa, I appreciate you. Thank you for joining us. And I know that the weekly poll you're going to be doing from January, even though you don't want to put it out, we'll have a sneak preview of it. And let's see how the 24th.
To know.
Yeah.
We won't let you know.
No. See,
okay. I'm running out. Thank you. Zidakwa, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. And Happy New Year, because I'm not going to see you before the end of the year. So Happy New Year to you. And all the best.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Musa Dankwa is...
Why, is he leaving?
Yes, he's going to take leave of
Maybe
us.
we should be asking Mr. Dankwa. Can't he ask the people that when Brian
Gentlemen, thank you.
So who takes the heat?
No, you are
Thank
here.
you. Thank you.
After bringing up the temperatures, you want to leave.
This is so unfair.
No, he has to take leave of us. So, Musa Dankwa is the lead researcher, executive director of Global Info Analytics, joining us this morning. Our next conversation, straight to matters. The IMF put out a report, the fifth review report. Gentlemen, thank you. A fifth review report, and a number of things that they touched on. They diagnosed our recovery process and then the compliance to the program, the External Credit Facility, ECF program, as largely satisfactory. That was the expression, largely satisfactory. I mean that, yes, we've met almost all targets, some of them that were reviewed, they are asking for an extension, which we'll get into. But this is one topical area that in the report we generated some conversation about some $214 million loss that they say that the Gold for Reserves program, you remember this administration took over and then they did away with the Gold for Oil program, and now they introduced the Gold G4R. So there was the G4O and then the G4R. Yeah. So there's the Gold for Oil. Now we have the Gold for Reserve program. According to the IMF, in 2025 through end of quarter three of 2025, losses from the artisanal and small-scale mining gold transactions component of the Gold for Reserves have reached $214 million, mostly on trading losses, but also on Gold Board off-takers fees. Take note of that. The Gold Board off-takers fees, that's what they put it. The rapidly expanding scale of the program, particularly since the creation of Gold Board, could expose Ghana to heightened risks. The large and increasing scale of the Gold for Reserves program, notably since the creation of Gold Board, is a source of significant downside risk. And they say that the domestic gold purchase program poses risk to the financial sustainability of the Bank of Ghana. The other aspect of the report we'll get into. But then there was a swift response from the CEO of Gold Board indicating that Gold Board has not made losses. So then where is the loss? Okay? Who is swallowing the loss or taking the loss? Rather, the Gold Board has made significant profit. And in fact, he references the unaudited accounts of Gold Board published on their website. If you go to the Gold Board website, you will find this on unedited accounts. But then it's being audited now. So then again, but then it posts what he is talking about, that there is indeed some appreciable and significant profit or surplus published on the website. They bear the fact that Gold Board is set to declare income surplus of less than 600 million, something not less than 600 million Ghana cedis for the year 2025 alone. And he explains the selling or trading of gold purchased by Gold Board to off-takers lies in the exclusive domain of the Bank of Ghana. So then we are being pointed to probably where this loss might be. He said the Gold Board is not aware of any $214 million loss incurred by the Bank of Ghana under the Gold for Reserve program on account of Gold Board off-takers. It says there's nothing like Gold Board off-takers for that matter. And this is it. It says, for the record, there is nothing like Gold Board off-takers fees under this artisanal small-scale mining gold trading program. That assertion is incorrect. The Gold Board, per its operations, does not deal with off-takers. Neither does the Gold Board charge any off-taker fees. All off-taker agreements are signed and also executed by the Bank of Ghana. Well, so the Bank of Ghana also put out a statement which essentially corroborates some of the things that the Gold Board put out. But the most critical part of the statement is say these accounts are being audited and they will publish as demanded of them by the first quarter of 2026. And so they describe the IMF's statement in their report as largely speculative, right? This is it. Let me acknowledge the presence of Professor Patrick Esuming, is a senior lecturer, an economist, and a professor in economics at the University of Ghana. Professor Patrick Esuming, good morning. Thank you for joining us. It's the last Saturday of the show, but it's your first time, being with us on Key Point. It's the first of many days to come in 2026. So thank you for coming.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Perfect. Great. Now, I would start with you, because the IMF's diagnosis of what is happening with the Gold for Reserve has been largely challenged, in fact, not just by Gold Board, but by the Bank of Ghana as well. That when you read this aspect of the report, and taking into consideration the IMF's own position about the metanomics that we've been engaged in, using our precious metals to back the economy, how do you expect this aspect of the report to be interpreted and influence policy decision going forward?
Good morning again. I think that, so
I took yours.
When, just before, at least before I read the IMF report, I've seen, I think there's been a post by the Gold Board CEO on how much, over 10 billion in gold sales that has brought foreign currency reserves to the economy. And so, I had my own views about that, but I think when I read the IMF document, then clearly you see that between the IMF document and what he posted, you get a fuller picture of exactly what is happening in terms of the program. So I think that clearly some information has been given to the IMF about how the program is progressing. And the IMF, based on their analysis, are expressing concern about the financial implications for the functioning of the central bank. I think it's a legitimate concern for the IMF to point out that, this kind of loss going to the central bank affects its financial sustainability. I think it's a legitimate concern. And then the responses that I have seen, the responses that you refer to.
Mm-hmm.
So I will start with the Bank of Ghana's response. So, when I read through the response, I was okay with everything they said, except the very last point where they said, it's our financial year has not ended, the accounts have not been audited, so this is speculative.
Why do you have a challenge with that?
Because it's curious that the very first paragraph, when they are responding, or the second one, where they mention how much the gold board or the gold for the domestic gold purchase program, how much it has contributed to our reserves. That is also speculation, because they are saying that as at the middle of the year, their projections suggest that we are going to reach over 13 billion in reserves or something to that. That is, so you take that statement, speculating what may happen at the end of the year, versus their own criticism that the IMF is speculating about losses that have come. The IMF didn't say, they were very clear through the first 3 quarters of the year, this is what has happened. And first of all, I don't know who gave the IMF that information. And this was based on a staff level agreement. It's not like the IMF came and plugged the information from somewhere. This information has been shared and discussed with the IMF, and they come out to give their own opinion of that information.
Well, in the IMF report, they said they engaged with a number of individuals, the Finance Ministry, the Bank of Ghana, the governor and deputies. They actually even had engagement with Gold Board, and that's according to the report. They list the individuals that they engage in. I think it's on page 7 or so. Yes.
It is a staff level agreement with the authorities. I think it's a little strange for the central bank to appear to disown the fact that this information is speculative.
You think that they're saying it's speculative, is they disowning?
Because, you see, they are not necessarily disputing. And I start from the point that who gave that information to the IMF? Are they disputing that this information is accurate? I think that, so everything that they said about, putting the broader positive gains from the domestic gold purchase program into the proper context, how it has helped shore up our reserves and help strengthen the currency. I think that is fair enough. But, I wish that the central bank is not too sensitive to these kind of things. I think it doesn't have to respond to everything. It's not especially, this is not a misinformation or a fact that is wrong. And their statement doesn't really dispute it. It's just saying that we should wait for the end of the year when the accounts are audited. But, that's not how they issue year-to-date information all the time. Why do we have to wait till? And the IMF didn't misrepresent the information by saying this is what has happened. Nobody had disputed the information. So I think that from me, for that score, I'm not sure why they were in such a hurry to respond. I think everybody can put that information in the context in which it should be put. Then, when you look at the information, the release by the Gold Board, well, I think that I was surprised to read that they are not aware of any 240 million loss.
Well, that's probably because they are not the one absorbing the loss. The loss is being pushed to the books of the central bank. But you see, when you go out there and tell us that this is how much we are making, this is how much savings we are, and then these costs are there, perhaps if they themselves have been upfront to tell us so that we put both the foreign currency gains in context with the losses from the program, then it gives a full picture. So I think that, you know, that's that side. But more broadly, I think that the IMF statement is not necessarily saying the program should be stopped. It's just raising a legitimate concern about the losses and who is absorbing the losses. And I think that is a fair comment for the IMF to make. But beyond that, I think, you know, it's great how much reserves we've generated and how much benefit is bringing, especially on the front of the reserves and the currency. But, you know, we should be minded to think beyond just gaining reserves from our gold. There are two things. I think one is we have to be concerned and we have to be assured that the gold purchase program, and in particular the role of the gold board, is not contributing to the carnage that is happening to the environment. I think that is something that the gold board should see, to reassure us, to tell us who they are getting the gold from, and for us to be convinced that indeed, because you see, they are talking about putting different information together to give us a broader context. And I think the bigger context is that all this gold accumulation is going on at the same time where the damage to the environment is almost becoming irreversible. I think that should be put out. The other thing is that to make the most of our gold, we have to move to some kind of value addition and processing. It's not enough that, yes, we have acquired this gold and we are using it to strengthen the currency. If that's all that there is to it, then I'm afraid that we are not making the most. So I think let's look at the gold purchase program as a first stage, especially the involvement of the gold board. At some point, if the price of gold declines, then we will make more value from our gold if we had gone ahead to start adding value, doing some processing and moving to that chain. I think if we do that, then we really begin to appreciate that the gold purchase program is not just helping us to aggregate the gold, but we are adding value. It's not enough that we aggregate the gold and just ship them off and get a dollar inflow.
And in fact, as part of the gold board that operations, there's some value addition as well in there as well. Yes, in the architecture of the work of gold board. Right? Yes, there's some. Yes, it's a component in their work. I just wanted to state that. But then again, you say that the Bank of Ghana wouldn't have a strong grounds to take the position that, to the extent that the auditing of the accounts is ongoing, they would rather, the IMF would have waited until the audit is done to get a certified true reflection of the state of affairs before coming out with a definitive figure of 214 million. That's the context in which they describe it as speculative, to the extent that this is an audit that is ongoing, hasn't ended as yet. They have no case in there?
I just made reference to what the Bank of Ghana itself, before the end of the year, putting out information about how much reserves we will get. By the end of the year, read the first couple of paragraphs in their own statement. I think that, so we should wait. Then why, you see, the IMF program, we don't have to wait for the end of the year and for the financial statement to be audited. You know, some things are reported quarterly, some things are reported monthly, some things are reported half-yearly, and they have to be reported. So there's no basis to say that the IMF should wait for the financial year to end. In any case, the central bank puts information out. They put all kinds of indicators and data about the economy. And if it becomes necessary to update with time, they do it. So the IMF didn't do anything out of the ordinary by putting this out and flagging it. In any case, it should be pointed out as soon as it's found. We shouldn't wait until the losses have gone out of hand before we start talking about it.
And on the bit about the losses, I'm going to come to Professor Bob King on that one. But if you look at the page 28 of this report, it says the Bank of Ghana purchased $7.6 billion in gold through the domestic gold purchase program in 2025 through August, including some $5 billion of dark gold from the artisanal small-scale miners between April and August. Gold, that's where the gold board arrangement comes in. Then they go into the loss statement, which I referenced earlier. They say the now discounted gold for oil component of the domestic gold purchase program generated losses of 128 million. So they reference the loss that the gold for oil program that was implemented by the previous administration incurred, $128 million in 2024, 30% of which emanated solely from the sale of some gold as well, about $800 million gold. In 2025, through end quarter 3, losses from the artisanal and small-scale gold transactions component of the gold for reserves have reached $214 million. So this is the clarity and the context in which they captured this particular said statement. The Bank of Ghana put this out in a statement. It says, although the IMF review flagged financial risk associated with the domestic gold purchase program, we'll put that on the screen, it is important to place these concerns within, they say, the broader context of the program's significant macroeconomic contribution. It goes on. The domestic gold purchase program is a policy tool that has helped shore up Ghana's international reserves, supported currency stability, and enabled access to large volumes of foreign exchange without incurring new debt. Continues. The operational role of Gold Board as an aggregator has been important in channeling gold-based inflows from the small-scale mining sector into the official market. So they emphasize the importance of the Gold Board in this. This collaborative structure between the bank and Gold Board has ensured that the domestic gold purchase program remains anchored in public policy. And the new foreign exchange operations framework introduced by the Bank of Ghana was also highlighted in the IMF report as a critical reform, designed in line with global best practice, clarifies intervention triggers, separates reserve accumulation from market intermediation. This is the context in which the Bank of Ghana put it, and they say that this is they're currently undergoing annual external audit. As such, any figures reported in relation to losses from gold operation 2025 remain speculative. But working, this is where the speculation comes in, and that they want this analyzed in the broader context of the impact of the program. Prof.
Yes, thank you very much. So let me start off this way. The use of the word speculative is where the problem is, essentially. But I'm going to respond along these dynamics. One, I lean towards the view that Gold Board has done quite well in terms of crowding in FX because of its role as the sole buyer, exporter, and all of that, which has reduced considerably the level of smuggling. That's good news. I've said this before, that in the run-up to 2024 election, both the NPP and the NDC recognized the challenge with mining from artisanal small scale. The NPP proposed to reduce the withholding tax of 3% to 1% as a way of discouraging this smuggling. This is what is in their manifesto. The NDC chose to set up the gold board, essentially as the only off-taker of gold production in Ghana. Something almost similar to cocoa board, if you look at the structure and all of that. So to that extent, you can see that consistent with that mandate, gold board has done quite well. If you look at the inflows, of course, not only that, we can also take the price effect, that the price of gold has gone up. So even if you export the same quantity, in terms of volume, it will go up because the world price has gone up. So to that extent, I think that is good news. But the way Gold Board and Bank of Ghana have responded to this issue actually mask the real challenge in the sector, in how the Gold Board and the pricing regime is done. That's where the issue is coming from. I will look at it this way. Look, for several decades after independence, we are incapable as a country of doing responsible mining. Incapable. Because largely, the artisanal small-scale miners are incapable of doing responsible mining. That's what the data tells us now. In addition to that, we are saying that in 2025, when Ghana has decided that now we want to buy the gold and export, that one too, we cannot even break even from that point. That is very sad for us as a country. That's how I'm looking at it. And the reason, Alfred, I'm looking at it from that point is to go back to the core issue, which we are escaping through the responses from Bank of Ghana and Gold Board. If you look at the guaranteed price to the miners, artisanal small-scale miners, and you compare that to the world price, and then you account for the transaction cost in between of taking the gold, processing, and all of that, if you reflect that transaction cost and all of that, you realize that the problem has to do with the pricing regime. Okay? So if you look at it from that point, you realize that...
But do we accept that we are making losses?
They don't need
Before
to
we
agree.
interrogate.
Please, we are smart enough to see what is going on. And I'll come to Bank of Ghana, and I feel that Bank of Ghana had lowered its standard by responding this way. I will give you reasons. I will give you reasons. So let's look at the pricing regime. Because, you know, if you look at the data, we sell our gold at the international level at some level of discount relative to the world price. Okay, gold price. And so if you look at all these dynamics, certainly for every ounce of gold that we export, there will be some loss somewhere. And the question is, in whose books those losses should sit? But as a country, we should not adopt a silos approach in reporting gains or losses from this intervention. Let's look at the entire value chain. Because if the losses sit on the books of Bank of Ghana, it's a loss to Ghana government. It's a loss to all of us. If it sits with Gold Board, it's also a loss to all of us. Then I've looked at that, and I'll talk a bit more about that. Alfred, if you pick the annual report or the report that Gold Board had put on its website, typically for any business, you account for your labor input cost. You account for your fiscal input cost. You account for all of that. And then you also account for your finance input cost. If I look at the report on the website of Gold Board, there are two main costs they talk about. Compensation of employees. I went on their management side to see the total number of employees so I could determine which per person or so and all of that, and also look at other public sector. We will talk about that on another day. Then they talked about cost with respect to goods and services. I didn't see finance input cost. In other words, who is providing the financing? At what cost? And at what cost? So when you are doing your P&L, you have to look at all your input costs holistically. I can understand why Gold Board would not major on that because the financing is not procured by them. Okay? From the 2025 budget, there's a provision, a seed money for Gold Board. Even if that provision had been redeemed, it will be insufficient for the Gold Board to be able to do the kind of transaction they are doing, given that limited amount. We are talking about billions of dollars. Okay? And
I get it from Bank of Ghana.
That is where I'm coming to. So Bank of Ghana more or less backstops this whole transaction. But the question is, would this not be at cost to Bank of Ghana, would there not be opportunity cost, okay, to Bank of Ghana? So that is one level. So we need to look at it. Then at the end of the day, so assuming Gold Board had not been the sole off-taker in all this arrangement, Bank of Ghana could have said, you know what, we want to buy gold as part of our reserves. Go and raise your money. I hope you understand that. Buy the gold from the artisanal, small scale, and the rest of them. Bring the gold to us, and then we what? Pay you this amount. That could have been another arrangement.
In fact, from the understanding I get from some of our sources within the central bank, the Bank of Ghana is going to check out of this entire process. And what you are saying is what will be the case from next year. Next year, this is what's going to happen.
That's what I'm saying. That let's understand what is happening here so that we don't run away from certain losses. If it doesn't sit on your books, it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. And then I'll come to that. So that the real issue, if Gold Board reflect the entire value chain cost, Gold Board will have to address the pricing regime and the bonus they give. Otherwise, we will book losses that taxpayers will come and what? Absorb in all of that. And then I'll come to Bank of Ghana. Look, the IMF report and the document attached and all of that is Ghana government report. It is staff level agreement with who? With Ghana government. There are two agents or units that the Bank of Ghana, the IMF relates to in their program engagement with any country. They may meet the president and the rest of them. That is the Bank of Ghana and then Ministry of Finance. Any report that you see out there can only be made public with the consent of Ghana government, i.e., Ministry of Finance, Bank of Ghana. In fact, when you read the report, you will see from the executive director responsible for Ghana, they had indicated that Ghana government had given its consent to the publication of this. Bank of Ghana had an option of raising objection to this and all of that. And it should be reflected fully in the report. That is the way you show, I don't want to say you show maturity. I don't want to use the word, I withdraw one. That is the way you engage as a professional technical institution. And here, I'll give you one example, and where I disagree with some aspect of the IMF report. But that one is not about this one. Okay. It's about the debt sustainability analysis they did. That technically, per the model, clearly indicates that Ghana is now a moderate risk debt, it's in a moderate risk debt category. Then the fund chooses to apply its own judgment and affirm our status as a high risk. I have not been able to bring myself up to the level of interpreting the outcome of a model different from what the model says. And if the fund has other reasons why it should not be confirmed, then those reasons should be reflected in the assumptions underlying the model. And here, Alfred, you will see professionalism. You will see the Ministry of Finance actually raising some level of objection to this interpretation, which is captured in the report. So when you read the report, you see the interpretation of the fund on this DSA, and then you also see how the government views all of this and all of that. So to allow all these reports...
In effect, to say that we are in a moderate debt sustainability
risk,
your conclusion automatically would be that we are in a good state of affairs.
Yeah, there's no denial about that.
No, I'm only reaffirming. I'm trying to reaffirm what you say. However, they concluded negatively.
They concluded negatively, and they've given their reasons. So, on one hand, a part of me leaned towards those other reasons. But my point is that it should have been reflective in the assumptions. Every model is as good as assumptions underlining the model. So that is where I'm coming from. So overall, you see, and again, I lean towards what Professor Sumi said. Of course, he's my boss, okay? That the IMF is not discrediting this domestic gold purchasing arrangement.
Right.
You don't get that from the report. So that is why Bank of Ghana shouldn't have gone this way. No. What the IMF is concerned, which every Ghanaian should be concerned, is how we can insulate Bank of Ghana from quasi-fiscal operations that burdens the balance sheet of what? The central bank. And by so doing, compromises its operational independence. And you will see, Alfred, if you examine almost all the IMF-supported programs that we have gone to, one recurring issue that every program seeks to address is to eliminate what we call fiscal dominance of monetary policy, where the fiscal operations of the government tends to what? Burdens the central bank and clouds its ability to do its policy prescription and regulate all of that effectively. And you will see that here. Bank of Ghana's negative equity position, which has to be recapitalized, if you see the amended Bank of Ghana Act and all of that, it's also coming from the fact that Bank of Ghana had exposed itself so much to the fiscal side as in terms of overdraft extension and all of that, to the extent that the debt restructuring imposed a heavy haircut on the central bank. And that compromises the balance sheet of the central bank.
That's a fact. Billion.
Yeah. And it is going to take us a while to recover. Without the government coming in to recapitalize Bank of Ghana, that gap we may not be able to close. In fact, we estimate that it may take Bank of Ghana more than 45 years if it has to
that
close
if there is no intervention.
If there's no intervention and through their normal operations, then the only way they can do that is to monetize every infraction in the market by punishing financial institutions. I hope you understand that. The slightest infraction, they monetize it. That's a way of and all of that. And that itself will create a problem. So the bigger issue here is that we are seeing increasingly quasi-fiscal activities which should be absorbed on the budget of Ghana government. Remember, Gold Board and its operations and the entire cost cannot be offloaded to Bank of Ghana. This is fiscal and quasi-fiscal activities, and it should be separated from Bank of Ghana's own. So, and then also, I will also say it's not speculative. These are realized losses that have happened in the first 9 months or 10 months and all of that, because trading has happened. This is different from advances to Gold Board in terms of funds that Gold Board is here to deliver the required what? Gold. All of the full picture may be clearer at the end of the year, but what the IMF is saying is that based on trading losses as at this time, these are the losses that have been accumulated and all of that. And I'm saying that the problem is not the IMF raising it, and the issue is not the way Bank of Ghana has responded, but the real issue as a country we should look at is how the pricing regime is structured, okay, so that it allows us to be the off-takers of this gold, do all the necessary refinery and all of that, and export, because all of that will come at a transaction cost, so that we also make some profit as a country from the gold. Then I'll come to the whole strategy. Alfred, I'm a bit concerned about a certain approach started by government, again the previous government, which has been affirmed by the current government, and some way, somehow, Bank of Ghana is also feeding into that. What is that approach? The whole approach is that don't admit error. Don't highlight the side effect of the gold and all of that. Keep telling the people it's making gains. We are raking in. I hope you understand that.
That's more propaganda.
More propaganda. That's why I didn't expect Bank of Ghana to go that way. I would have been happy if of course, the president said the same thing during the media encounter. This gold artisanal smoker has brought in so much what? Gold. So the whole strategy is that mask the side effect. Make sure it doesn't show up. Keep telling the people there's great macroeconomic benefit, inflows, billions of dollars, but ostensibly to obscure the real cost. And here, part of the real cost is the losses, which they don't want to highlight. Part of the real cost that we are not reflecting as a country, almost 69 years after independence, we cannot do responsible mining. And we are destroying our water bodies, and that cost is not reflected. And ecological integrity we are compromising, that is not reflecting. Mr. President, this is not performance. Let's adopt a cost-benefit approach. Let's reflect both the trading losses, and that one can easily be corrected. And my recommendation would be to look at the pricing regime. Because gold is attractive. The world price is high. How can you sell gold across the entire value chain and make losses? If you account for the losses on the books of Bank of Ghana and you relate that to the profit Gold Board claims they will declare at the end of this year, it looks so infinitesimal. If we are unable to do responsible mining, so we mean as a country we can't even buy the gold and sell it at a profit. This is sad, please. And let me say this also. If all that it takes to manage an economy is to just produce gold, cause distraction to the environment, and just keep pumping that gold, I hope you understand that, to show up the stability of your currency, this is not innovation. I fail to celebrate this, and Ghanaians to forgive me. Alfred, bear in mind, Ghana, we have data that we can compare. There are a good number of relatively non-resource rich countries in Africa today don't have gold, they are not exporting gold, that have fairly managed a stable currency. They have. So there are options. The real risk is that we are too much fixated on this gold as the only way that we can stabilize our city. Kenya, other countries who are non-resource rich or non-resource intensive countries, I hope you understand that, have largely managed all of this. And the real issue is, how do we diversify our economy? Look, at independence, more than 80% of our export earnings were driven by primary commodities. Gold, cocoa. Lately, when we have done well, it's more of the same. More than 6 decades after independence, more than 80% of our foreign exchange is still driven by primary what? Commodities. Let me put it on the record and why we are struggling here, Alfred. And again, I said that I'm not going to celebrate this because there are options. We can do better. Again, I also recognize at the beginning by saying that Gold Board has done well in terms of the crowding in, but we ask for more than this.
Okay.
Right. And if, as at now, this is what we are doing, I'm afraid, look, if you export raw gold, and you look at the data carefully, your maximum profit is between 1% and 5%. That's why no country makes any significant impact by exporting raw what? Commodities. You make margins through value addition. That's what Professor Sumi spoke about. So if we want to go this way, then let's be deliberate about the value addition. And then also, when we are doing the pricing regime, let's introduce a certain kind of incentive mechanism that rewards those who do responsible mining. I hope you understand that. So that those who are not doing responsible mining and we are still buying from them, there's a way we introduce some kind of pricing mechanism to recover the environment. Because I can foresee not long from now, Ghana will have to introduce a tax handle to reclaim our water bodies and the rest of them. When we've lost so much in finance, somebody's profit is somebody's gain. So the losses on the books of Bank of Ghana reflect gains.
Somebody's profit is somebody's loss.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
These losses reflect somebody's gains. It may be the artisanal small-scale miners who probably are selling at very competitive price, almost pegged to the world price, and they don't have to account for transaction costs. They don't have to account for all of this. So let's look at it from that perspective. So that whilst doing this irresponsible mining, so we are saying that, yes, we keep exporting blood gold. Children are born with deformed organs. It doesn't matter. This is not an issue. As long as there is currency stability, inflows are coming in. This is the whole strategy. Let's just talk about the positive. Let's not highlight the negative. But we cannot do that. This will come back to bite us. I'm afraid. Look, Alfred, there should be weekly or monthly update to the people of Ghana, the progress we are making with the fight against irresponsible mining. There should be regular update how our water bodies are recovering, the turbidity level. I hope you understand that. And all of that. If you look at the data and everything, close to 30 to 40% of our water bodies in Ghana's food basket regions are all polluted. We are taking risk every day as we eat. Then the water we drink. Mr. President, your legacy will not be judged only in terms of how the city has been stable. I'm afraid. In fact, your legacy will be judged probably when you are long gone. And when the negative effect from this irresponsible mining will become more pronounced, and the benefit we are celebrating today will look so infinitesimal.
Well, Matubebo, the part of the report as well by the IMF mentions the traceability and all the mechanisms that put place. Because Watson, you saw that part of the report as well, because then they are looking at how the next phase of this program will look like.
There's an exit strategy.
Exactly.
Yes,
taking
and
into
all of
consideration.
That. But that will only be profitable if we look at the pricing regime.
Okay, so you talk about the pricing regime a lot.
And the value addition.
And the value addition. We'll get some more on it as to how the way forward will be, the pricing regime and the value addition.
You see,
we'll have an intervention shortly on this. But to the extent that we already know the position, the position that the IMF had taken about the metanomics that we are on, that using gold
certainly
to back
that is problematic, because then you become exposed.
Yes,
to
they are not
prices.
in favor of it. Right? How do you analyze this?
Alfred, just 1 minute. Just 1 minute.
I was going to come to you on that.
Let him do 1 minute. Let's see what.
1 minute. We don't even need the IMF to tell us this. We've had enough data. Look, when Dr. Kwame Nkrumah took over the reins of this country, our reserves was around $269 million. If you look at it today, it runs into billions. By the end of 1964, we had depleted those reserves. And also because there was a slump in commodity prices. And Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's economy became exposed. So if you check, virtually every 10 years or so, thereabout, you see this fluctuation. Okay. So we are more exposed. And that is why we should take advantage and diversify. But right now, the way we are going, I'm afraid.
Yeah, so Mr. Kansi, you know, the thing is that when you check, right, they say half a loaf is better than none. That's where I want to look at it from. Yes, you talk about the exposure, etc., right? But you see the last point Professor Bobkin made. He's talking about diversification. In other words, means that don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's always been the refrain for over, I mean, God knows how long. That's been the refrain. Even when the Akufo-Addo was coming, it's the same thing. That you can't use one approach. You can't just back your currency with only gold. But it's also the case that no matter how you diversify, you can't say that you're not going to back the currency with gold. Professor Bobkin, do I get that? Do I get that?
Gold as part of our reserve didn't start today.
Exactly.
It's been part of our reserve management. Now there's a scaling up.
Yes.
And also
so that tells you that it's an eclectic approach. Immunization. So there's no way you would ever say that, listen, we would not back the currency with gold. That is not on the table.
The countries that don't produce gold, they buy it to back their currency.
Exactly. So we need that education. Yeah. That's very clear. That's the point I'm making. So please, let's be very clear that no matter what we say, at the end of the day, we will still need gold to back the currency. As to how we do it, that one, then it varies from government to government. So let's be very clear. You will always need the gold to back the currency. You will always need that gold, at least into the foreseeable future. Maybe when we do well on the virtual assets, Bitcoin, etc. But for now, as I'm seeing it, you will always need the gold. So then, as to how each government does it, then it becomes a question of policy, right, of the government, etc. And so I also agree that, yes, diversification is the key. The only thing is that, like we've said, we've been saying it for, as I said, from the time I was a student to today, right? And it's not even university days. Look, if you go back to the junior secondary school, you open the textbooks, it's in the textbooks there, I hope they haven't changed them, where they'll tell you that our bane is over-reliance on our primary
commodities.
Yes, gold, cocoa. That's been the problem. So for over 35 years now, I've seen it. They've been teaching this from JHS to secondary school to university, etc. PhDs, and the PhD people are here.
That's and why we don't revise our lecture notes.
You see. And we are still here making the same point.
Because it's the same. What we said they should do, they haven't done it.
Exactly. So it's there. Look, if you down, I'm sure those who have kids in the JHS, let them open the social studies books, etc. It's there. It's there.
They'll go to universities. The lecture notes are still
too low.
Why you change academic here?
When you do, then you go to university level, 100 economics level, 200, those economists that with the still there. And secondary school is still there. So it tells you that that's why we keep repeating. And we will not get tired of repeating that. Look, so citizens of Ghana, those of you at home, where the main problem comes from is your lack of engagement. That is where the problem is. When you decide to engage, when you decide to step in so that you push government will act to diversify the economy well. But when you don't, and you sit aloof and say, oh, politics is for criminals, oh, the bad, etc., it won't work. Look, if you like a practical example that we can use to motivate ourselves, you remember the Galamsey fight. What happened? When you jumped in, all of us jumped in and said, no mining in forests, etc., and that's Professor Bobkin is indicated. You see how government is doing its best. You see the creation of NIMOS, etc. And I like the famous example that as a lawyer, this Etiwa Forest case where I lost my job. The time I was taking on the case of Etiwa Forest, it was very clear to me, even the lawyer going to court, I knew that this case will lose it because once government makes it clear to the court that when we mine bauxite in the Etiwa Forest, we will create millions of jobs, the economy will improve. Yeah, but I decided to take a leap of faith. I went in and see from 2019.
You don't have to win all cases.
Exactly. So I decided to go in because my main point at the time was that I'd rather go to court, lose, so that tomorrow when there's trouble, I say, by me, I did my best. I went to court and we lost. But look at what happened. Barely about 5 years on, you see how citizens, you jumped in and you said there will be no mining in forests, and that's been it. So Akufo-Addo last minute had to capitulate. And the same way, President Mahama also coming in the opposition, campaigning, and then since assuming office, he's made it clear that there will be no more mining in forests. So that's one example when citizens decide to engage, when you decide to make your voices heard through TUC, other CSOs, etc. So this diversification, what we are saying is that it's been there. The other name for it, when Akufo-Addo was coming, when he said he would change the Gajisberg economy, that's his other name. So everything they've been saying here,
reinforcing it.
Excellent. So everything the professors have been saying is Akufo-Addo's Gajisberg economy, which he said he would come and diversify. And we sat down, we didn't do enough to push. We said planting for food and jobs, and earlier on I said it wasn't revolutionary enough. Today we have what? Feed Ghana, or popularly called
Grow 24.
Grow 24, and also Nkukon Kitten, if you are a food soldier.
I hope you will not chew those chickens.
Excellent. So you see, so please, the key to it is when you decide to engage on the economy, don't leave it to the professors alone. Yes, they are professors, but we also know very clearly that he who feels it knows it. He who feels it knows it. So you know how you struggle to feed your family. So you also know enough economics to be able to make an input. Don't say that Professor Bobkin should speak, Professor Sumi alone should speak. No. You don't need to have read economics anywhere. Once you manage your home, you also can make an input. Because after all, Article 36 is clear that, look, no matter what the government does, the key thing is that manage the economy in such a way that we'll have a good standard of living, that we all can afford food, etc. So no matter what Professor Bobkin and the rest come and say, bottom line, the crack, say, is the economy being managed in such a way that we all can have food, we all can have, sustenance, because self-preservation is the first, instinct. Yes, it's the first principle, first instinct. If you don't preserve yourself, if you don't live, would you have opportunity to make the other lofty arguments? And so look, let's repeat just a few provisions of 36. It says, the state shall take all necessary action to ensure that the national economy is managed in such a manner as to maximize the rate of economic development and to secure the maximum welfare, freedom, and happiness of every person in Ghana, and to provide adequate means of livelihood and suitable employment and public assistance to the needy. So there you have it. There you have it. Do the national economy in such a manner as to maximize the rate of economic development and to secure the maximum welfare. Welfare. How are you feeding your family? Is the cost of living crisis killing you? Is the cost of living crisis killing? So if it's killing you, you have the right to say something. It mustn't be left to Professor Bobke, Professor Esumi, and all the professors alone. You see, so let's engage, because if you don't, so how do you engage? You make your voices heard, social media, demonstrations, etc. We did Kumi Preko when we're feeling it, right? We're feeling the hunger. And of course, the hunger hasn't disappeared, but it appears to be ameliorated a bit because this year there's a bumper harvest, etc. But it doesn't mean, but I know people are still struggling. Yes, people are still struggling to make ends meet. So let's engage more. If you don't engage, everything the professors have told you about diversification, which I said we started learning about 35 years ago, okay, when we became conscious, we'll become, what do you call it, theoretical. We'll just be theoretical. It won't be practical. A few days ago, when the Prime Minister of the UK was addressing his people as part of the Christmas message, he himself, he had to acknowledge, because the citizens kept pressing him. He stammered. They pressed him that, look, times are hard. We are feeling the cost of living crisis. So in his Christmas message, he acknowledged it and said, look, yes, I see there's hardship. They who generally, there are food pantries there. You can go and get food for free, etc. Still, you are struggling there. So if you don't speak up and you say a few people should come here and speak, sorry. Don't speak up. You don't let your voice be heard. I think a few people here, no, government is pressed on all sides. So the one who shouts the loudest generally gets more attention. That's what I can say about this economics. Please, it's not for the experts. He who feels it knows it.
All right. Thank you.
Normally in economics and also for balance of payment purposes, when we talk about an economy, it's defined to include land area, airspace, territorial waters, the environment, territorial enclaves. So when you say you are managing your economy very well, it cannot be dissociated from the environment and all of that. So that's what I'm saying. If we say we are managing, and the Constitution says let's manage the economy well, we can interpret that to mean that we are also preserving our environment and taking total control. Because these precious minerals, you are a lawyer, they are invested in the state. It's not like they are the property of some individuals who can just mine it the way they want it and export it the way we have to. So the economy is more than just saying inflation. It's more than just saying food and all of that. I agree with the position. The economy can be defined to include security, territorial integrity, water bodies, and all of that. And so when we talk about modeling, you can never talk about economic sustainability without also talking about environmental or ecological integrity.
Okay, thank you. Professor Bokin, so, you add the bit about value addition. When you mentioned it, I had indicated earlier that there's a component of the Gold Board operations that actually addresses that, but is in the process of scaling it up to expand the value addition to gold. Because I know there's some partnership with some refineries to add value to the gold as well. So that's part of the operations. I just needed to put it on record.
You see, this morning, I have had the benefit of being reminded of the concepts that I had to go through in the economic department of the University of Ghana, and particularly focusing on value addition and diversification and all that we have done in the universities. Most of the time, the policies are good, but the management of such policies, the implementation of these policies, and the other component of human resource, the human resource that we apply to the natural resources that we have, you see, we don't achieve the results that we anticipate. And let's take the issue of even sanitation in Ghana. There was a Ministry of Sanitation in Ghana created. The expectation was that we were going to have a cleaner city in 100 days. Is that right? Then, very important. Listen. Very important policy, very interesting one. And my expectation was that we'll get a hands-on person to make sure it happens. And at the end of the day, somebody sits in Accra and will not even move and see whether we are implementing the program. At the end of the day, we all lose out. Nothing happens. A whole ministry for so years, and that concept of managing the sanitation fizzles out. And so when we talk about the whole economy and we leave out the human aspect of it, then again we create the problems. The value addition, it has been on the table for the longest while. When I was at Free Zones, that was one of the things that I was promoting. Let's get the companies that will add value to our natural products. Otherwise, we are lost in the international markets. When you go there with all your cassava, plantain, and all that, people will just apply technology and change the face of it, and they will make the money, and we will count the losses. So I think that the report, as has come to us, clearly from a contextual prescription, there is a presumption of acceptance of the loss, because all this vocabulary will not take away the loss. The loss is there, and they are finding different ways of telling us that we have lost. So when we say let's wait for audited accounts,
what the Bank of Ghana is saying is the element of speculation they identify or go with there is that there's an audit that's ongoing.
Yes,
Wait
I know.
for the audit to be completed.
Yes, I know, but
before
there is
you
always
make
there
specific.
There is a
statement
signal
of a
that
loss.
there is loss, and the quantum is that which an audit will bring out. Again, there is a possibility of us also looking at the whole value chain to see other areas of loss that has not been also quantified in this. And gladly, Prof. also mentioned the environmental loss, environmental cost. It has not also been factored into the calculation. So at the end of the day, when we do the value chain analysis, we will see that the loss is even greater than what has been. This is fiscal loss. But in terms of depreciation and all that, when they put everything together, we see that we'll be counting more losses. So, and that shouldn't also discourage us. Once we have the resources, what if we apply other resources, the metallic resources, we apply other resources like technology, human resource, and all that, we should have an improved situation, not rather a deficit at the end of the total calculation. So the drivers of policy is also important. The people who will make sure it happens is also important. I had a chance to be in a meeting as chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament, and we were discussing international issue on environment. It so happened that the minister who was supposed to even drive the vision didn't understand what was going on. And on the quiet, somebody came to my room, told me, you have to redeem this. You see, why do you get somebody like that to lead it when he can't do it, or she or he cannot do it? And then you go behind the meeting and tell us to go and redeem the image of the country. So the appointing system, all these things happening. Look at the education you have had this morning. And these hands are left idle, and they are stuck in the university campuses, 4 walls.
We are working.
Four walls. No.
We are working.
No. What I'm saying is that we should exploit it even better. You see, you can't only be working in university when we need these brains in the center of decision making, and people are confined to universities. We don't. Association between academia and industry, so important. Who is to bridge that gap? We can bring a trade minister who will sit in an office 24 hours a day, go home and come back the next morning, and not relating industry to academia. And this is where we even lose the import of research. So, to me, it is good that we have seen it from the beginning. What is important is to make sure that we find the loss points within the value chain and address them, and make sure that, in fact, most of the natural resource contracts, I've said it many times, natural resource contracts, we sign contracts with foreign interest, and all that we get is a threshold of 5%, 3%, 5% of royalty threshold, and we are happy as a country. When other people are signing contracts, gaining 50% of returns.
Okay.
Royalties.
Right.
So we
You
are
see,
losing.
we are losing even the royalty threshold is zero.
And that's why you say you laud the Gold Board program
Yes.
in the
No, the
intervention.
program is good.
Yes, as a starting point,
The
but we can
program is
do
good,
better.
But there was a question that was to, and I want you to you would answer that together
No.
with Professor. Please,
But
Honor,
if you
yes,
sorry.
sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
So now I'm happy also that having looked at the constitutional review, I'm happy that at least some pre-acquisition owners are being attended to now. From the review, we'll come to that. But
yes.
I'm happy that we are looking at the resources of the country and how best can we mobilize those resources for the interest and use of the whole country, not for people who are privileged to be appointed to positions like that and take advantage. So,
as for the constitutional review, we'll get into that.
We'll get into that, but I'm just flagging it because
important.
I'm so happy that the Constitutional Review Committee, they have looked at the interests of pre-acquisition owners who have been cheated all this while. I'm happy it is happening. When we get there, I'll just bring out examples and even relate to the case of Nita Techru and what has happened post Nita Techru.
Okay.
So, Ahmed, I think that as a country, let's go back to the drawing board. It is not too late. We have attempted, but we have not done. So let's go back to it. We have the brains. We have the resources. We have the legislation. We need to also create the people who will make sure our expectations are met with the combination of all that which we have. I thank you.
Thank you very much for this. Professor Abdallah Ali Nachia, good morning to you. He sends a message. It says, the Queen Mother who stopped Galamsey and seized equipment is an example of the community getting involved in the charge of preventing Galamsey, as rightly stated by Honorable Andi Apiakobi some time ago. I commend him and his work and commitment in his constituency before he exited in the fight against illegal mining. It says, Professor Abdallah Ali Nachia.
He's my classmate.
He's your classmate?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Yes. And Dr. Tio Champo is on Zoom. I'm going to hold him on in a bit. He's repositioning to join us. But also joining us on Zoom is Sami Gyamfi, is the CEO of Gold Board. And then to make this quick intervention on a number of things, some specific issues that you raised, and then also in direct response to that aspect of the IMF report. He's joining us on Zoom as well. Mr. Gyamfi, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Alfred, and best wishes of the season to your esteemed panelists.
Thank you very much, and we wish you same as well. First of all, there's the statement that you put earlier in the week, in responding to the IMF $214 million loss. I have read it in full. We've subjected it to some discussion. The question that Professor Bobkin and Professor Patrick Esuming asks is how you sell gold across all value chains and still make a loss. They want a clarification, and then also the pricing regime that you use specifically. Mr. Gyamfi.
All right, thank you very much. I think this is by far the most fundamental issue that I've heard anybody commenting on this matter raised so far. And so I intend to focus on it and explain. A special greetings to Prof. Bobkin, who taught me financial management during my EPM program at the University of Ghana. But before I do that, I think there are some preliminary issues that we need to clarify. The impression is being created by some, not your panelists per se, but by some, as though the Gold Board has made losses and is shying away from acknowledging that it has made losses. Alfred, the Gold Board is not a typical commercial venture established for the main purpose of making profits. The Gold Board is a strategic corporation with two objects. foreign exchange generation for the country and supporting gold reserve accumulation by the Bank of Ghana. And that is why, if you look at the Gold Board Act, nowhere in the Act is the word profit used, rather the word surplus is used. We are mandate-driven and not necessarily profit-driven. And so if we even make losses in the discharge of our mandate, we will be very happy to concede that and to show how that loss came about and the benefits of that loss, if any. And so nobody is shying away from losses. Facts are sacrosanct. The Gold Board is barely 8 months old. Per Section 76 of the Gold Board Act, it took over the assets, liabilities, contracts of the defunct Precious Minerals Marketing Company. So for the first year that the Gold Board has been in operation, our financials are available. We have not made losses. We have rather made surpluses. And we have published our financials as required by law, our quarterly financials on our website. And anybody can go and check. So the IMF has not said the Gold Board has made losses. And it is important that we put that matter to rest. The Gold Board has not made losses. And if the Gold Board makes a loss, the Gold Board will not shy away from that. The reason why the lawmaker in drafting the Gold Board Act did not use the word profit and loss is because that is not the main object. You understand? And so why would we even shy away from that if we've made losses? We have made surpluses. And latest by February or March next year, when external auditors audit our books, that will. Alfred, yes. The suggestion is being made that the Bank of Ghana is making losses and the Bank of Ghana is shying away from the losses. The Bank of Ghana says that the statement put out by the IMF that in their country reports, that it made $240 million from January to September of this year under the Gold for Reserve program is speculative. It means the Bank of Ghana is shying away from losses. That is not true. Why? Bank of Ghana, why would Bank of Ghana shy? Bank of Ghana has been making consecutive losses. In 2022, it made a loss of 60.8 billion. In 2023, it made a loss of 10.5 billion cedis. In 2024, it made a loss of 9.4 billion. Nobody was crucified in this country. And so if all the IMF is saying is that Bank of Ghana has made a loss of $214 million, equivalent to $2.5 billion, that will even be a reduction of the recurring losses of the Bank of Ghana. Why would the Bank of Ghana run away from that? What the Bank of Ghana is saying is this. I have been in meetings with the Bank of Ghana and the IMF, in which the Bank of Ghana has told the IMF that there are issues of accounting and financial reporting surrounding the Gold for Reserve program. That it has referred to its external auditors for resolution. And that how those cost items are treated in the financials can impact the level of profits or losses. And so the IMF should exercise patience and allow its external auditors resolve the issues. And in that meeting, the IMF agreed. So we are not just saying that, oh, management accounts are not available and that it is only when external audits are concluded that losses can be ascertained. No. They are critical issues of financial reporting and accounting treatment principles for the financials surrounding the Gold for Reserve program that the Bank of Ghana has discussed with the IMF. Their disagreements and same have been referred to its external auditors. And so all the Bank of Ghana is saying is that let that process conclude so that we can have a fair, balanced picture. The Bank of Ghana is not running away from any $214 million losses, which in any case is far lesser than the recurring losses the Bank of Ghana has been making in the last 3 years. Let's make that preliminary point also very clear.
Okay.
Now, you must understand that the Gold Board, like I said, is barely 8 months. Has this year now put in place the institutional framework for its operations and all that. Okay? So the Gold Board concept, as envisioned under the Gold Board Act, has not taken off. And I have put that on record already. But because the Gold Board took over the PMMC, the Gold Board inherited the PMMC's existing contract with the Bank of Ghana under the Domestic Gold Purchase Program, which basically is that, and will advance funds to PMMC, now Gold Board, as its agents to buy gold, assay the gold, and export the gold to off-takers of the Bank of Ghana. Now, this program started, as you are aware, in 2022. And when the program was being launched, this domestic gold purchase program was being launched, the object, the policy design was not for profit. And that is what I want my revered lecturer, Professor Bobkin, to understand. He says that why can't we, as a country, be able to sell gold and break even or make profit? No, that was not the policy design. To sell gold and make profit is easy. You just have to know your cost, and you just have to price at a discount that absorbs your cost and gives you a margin as profit. That is easy. Anybody can do that. But in 2022, when this program was being launched, the Bank of Ghana knew at the time that gold was already being bought in the open market by all manner of people, mostly foreigners, at the black market rate, the informal exchange rate, retail rate, if I can put it that way, and at the world market price, within a discount range of 1% to 2%. And you can ask any gold trader. That was how gold was being bought in 2021, 2022, 2023. And that is how gold has always been bought.
I see.
So when Bank of Ghana was coming in, Bank of Ghana was not like Gold Board. PMMC did not have the market regulation and enforcement powers that the Gold Board has to deal with leakages and smuggling. And so the Bank of Ghana decided to use price to fend off smugglers so that it will get gold for FX, knowing very well that there will be an intrinsic cost or losses. And that is why on 1st December 2022, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Samuel Abu Jinapor, in his directives to gold traders as part of the rollout of the Gold for Oil program at paragraph 4, announced that the PMMC will be buying gold for the Bank of Ghana at spot price. Spot price. Nobody buys gold at spot price for the purpose of making profit. Because when you buy at spot, you can sell at spot. Dory is sold at discount to take account of freight, insurance, handling charges, to take account of commissions of buyers and all that. So you obviously run at a loss. But the policy justification was that we needed the forex so bad to bring about macroeconomic stability, the benefits of which will make that loss infinitesimal. That is the whole point. So it is not about somebody not having the ability to. Why did government scrap? You see, the MPP introduced a withholding tax of 3% on gold purchases in 2023. That was the year that gold output was the lowest in Ghana's history, owing to smuggling. 3%. It later reduced it to 1.5%. When the NDC came, we took the 1.5% tax from the price of Dory. Now, the cost on gold purchases is about 5%. So to say that you want to make profit means you have to buy gold at minimum 5% discount. That is almost double the tax that was introduced in 2023 that ensured that we lost all the gold and all the FX stayed in Dubai and India. And the Ghanaian became the poorer. The economy became the poorer. And so let's understand the policy from this perspective. Now again, to the most fundamental issue of pricing. Gold Board, and for that matter, Bank of Ghana, can be profit conscious and say we want to price to make profit. We are pricing at 5% discount. That will help us to absorb all our costs and make us break even. But we know that once we do that, we will lose all the gold and there will be no forex to stabilize the currency. And when you lose control of your currency, you lose control of inflation, and cost of living will go up the roofs and your people will suffer. And so what do? We say, okay, what we will do is that we will change the exchange rate denominator in the price calculation from the historic retail rate, which has been used all these years, and bring it to interbank. Prof, by doing that, Gold Board has already discounted the local price of gold by more than 10% already. So to slap another discount on the world market price will make our price uncompetitive and only deepen the leakages and defeat the whole essence of the program. That is why we price this way. But we know that even if what the IMF is saying is true, that we've incurred costs, okay, of $214 million, even if that is true. Prof taught me economics. He knows that there is a cost to everything. If Ghana went to the Eurobond market to borrow $10 billion, we will be paying interest of not less than 10%, true or false.
Okay.
That is more than $1 billion. It comes, $214 million comes nowhere close to that. By pricing this way and bringing $10 billion, the CD has appreciated by almost 35%. First time in Ghana's history since 2007. The inflation rate has reduced by 11 consecutive months from 23.8% to 6.3%. Food prices have gone down by 32%. In terms of savings to the country, let me tell you this, because in this country, we know the value of everything but the cost of nothing. Let me tell you the value. And
why you round up for me?
Mm-hmm. Yes, why I round up. For 2025, the government has spent $1.8 billion in servicing its external debt. Another $1.8 billion in paying IPPs. That is together $3.6 billion.
Okay.
If government serviced that $3.6 billion debt at an exchange rate of 15 cedis, which we inherited, without the intervention of Gold Board and what we are talking about today, the $10 billion inflows, it would have cost the country 15 billion cedis more. We would have to convert 15 billion cedis more to service that debt.
Okay.
I have not even spoken about the import bill. Let me tell you something. We are talking about January to September. The import bill from January to September 2025 is $11.8 billion. Do the math. If importers imported those goods at 16 cedis, as compared to an average exchange rate of 12 cedis, we would have lost an extra 52 billion cedis.
There are a number of things that you point to.
$240 million. That is why the Bank of Ghana, that is why the IMF itself is not able to say that the program is bad and that we should stop.
And in fact, the
IMF is saying, Alfred, just 1 second. What the IMF is saying is that it is fine. This is good. You have met your foreign reserve target for 2028. In 2025, it's unimaginable. We never even thought you could do this.
Right.
Okay. But we don't want the cost. IMF is saying we don't want the cost to sit in the books of the Bank of Ghana. Mm-hmm. And we have said that, okay, where should it sit? Whether it sits in the books of Gold Board or the Ministry of Finance, it is sitting in the books of Ghana.
Okay,
so
thank you.
We have now come up with reforms for 2026, because from 2026, Gold Board will now take off fully. And we have told the IMF that when we take off fully, some of these issues that you are concerned is impacting the books of Bank of Ghana will become a thing of the past.
Will be dealt with. So then that answers the question about the way forward.
The price mechanism that Gold Board will be introducing.
Great.
But let's understand these issues.
Thank you very much, Sammy Gyamfi, for this. In fact, I asked those two questions, and then the explanation that we have got now. Prof. Bobkin, I'll come to you. The explanation that we've got now, does it bring some clarity and context to the issues? He mentions quite a number of things that addresses some of the issues that you raise. That
but
there is
Alfred,
a
you should
cost.
have made me comment on the issue of Galamsey and the environmental cost and that argument that Prof. Bobkin made, because you see, it is very.
Okay, Sammy, I'll come to you on that.
The environmental cost and all that. Just 1 minute, I beg you.
Quickly,
You have
in a
disturbed my
second, because I
already.
need to move on. So
I beg you, just give me 60 seconds, time me. Prof, we know the environmental cost of mining. And that is why when we took over and there was no fight against illegal mining, we didn't maintain the status quo. Today there is a fight. LI 2423 has been revoked. Mining is no longer permissible in forest reserves. NIMOS is cracking down on illegal miners everywhere. You have seen the videos on TV3. This cannot be a government that sets up an institution like Gold Board to promote traceability. Gold Board, which has now made it a crime under Section 59 of our Act to buy for anybody, any of our licensees, to buy illegal mining gold. How can you say that institution promoting
I read the IMF report.
in
The IMF report
protecting the
references. Sorry, the IMF report references this traceability you talk about. That it's a process that you are going to roll out going forward. Is it already in place that you're able to trace?
Ghana has been buying gold since the colonial eras. We are now being told that why haven't you introduced traceability in 8 months? When, for how many decades we have not done? We have given you timelines by which this traceability program will be in place. And every gold bought by the state will be traced to its mine of origin, which must be a sustainable mine. And you want to crucify an institution that has been in office for 8 months. When people were doing gold for oil and gold for FX and all that, we didn't hear all these arguments.
Okay, great. So there are a number of things that Sammy Gyamfi points out, and it's important because it brings some clarity or context to the issues. One, that there is a cost to everything, but then you square it up with the benefit of what is at stake. He references barely 8 months that the Gold Board has been in operation. He outlines the impact and benefits over the period. And then also, Professor Bobkin, he says it's not a policy design of Gold Board to sell gold and make profit. That's number one. And he explains quite into some detail. And the institutional concept of Gold Board has not fully taken off as yet. And we will see the full fledging of it from next year. And there's been some timelines as well, especially because now we're getting some signal that they're going to take over the entire process, and the Bank of Ghana would have very little or nothing to do in the entire process. And the fact that they inherited the already existing contract between the Bank of Ghana and PMMC, even though there is now PMMC being transformed into Gold Board. And the fact that the Bank of Ghana decided to use pricing to fend off smuggling, okay? Knowing that there will be a cost or losses. So there's some sense of awareness that this was going to happen. But it was a pricing mechanism meant to address a particular challenge. Does that answer the issues for you? I'll start off with you, Lawyer Abdullah, and then
because you
gentlemen, Prof.
Gentlemen,
because you haven't spoken on this, I was just signal. You haven't spoken on it. So you take it up, and then I'll take the last comment from the two professors.
Yes. All right. So thank you, Alfred. I have been paying serious attention to all the discussions going on. For once, I enjoyed being a listener than being the one talking. And it's genuinely so because I cannot pretend to know it all. I am also a learner, and so it is humbling sometimes to know from the experts and then to know how you also guide your comment and your thoughts around some of these subjects. But outside of the technicalities, I was asking myself a number of questions. That we have an organization, an institution that has been set up for barely 9 months. And across the country, all stakeholders, everybody commends that institution for doing so well. And so my opinion was really that would a $200 million loss within the first year, assuming it was even the loss of Gold Board, I mean, however you want to look at it, be a basis to judge the quality of that institution? I think that would be a disservice if you rely solely on that. But luckily for us, nobody has made that judgment, value judgment, based on the basis of the 200 million. And so it's just a rhetorical with that response. And then looking at it from that angle, I also look at it from the other perspective. Would it be fair to say that on the basis of this 100 million, we are getting, 200 million loss, we are getting value for money? I think that if you look at it from that angle, I think the resounding response would be that indeed, yes, we are getting value for money. This is a very good institution, establishment that is getting us arguably one of the best benefits that we have ever had in our almost 70-year life as a country. Now, if all the answers are in favor of that institution and there are seeming difficulties, even if you rely on the losses alone, and without all the explanations coming from Sammy Gyamfi and all of that, would it be a fair argument to say that we reform, strengthen, and make this institution a better one for our collective good? If the answer is yes, then I'm all for it. In which case, then my argument is that let's do some amount of introspection, but not within 8 months. Obviously not. Maybe, I think to be fair, most institutions will do introspections maybe after 3 years, 5 years. That's what the economists probably would call a medium term. But even in the short term, 1 year, you want to do some introspection to identify lapses, weaknesses, and to pluck all those lapses and weaknesses, and then strengthen the areas that you're doing so well in order to be able to gain so much of the institution's establishment. I think that would be a good way of assessing the situation than the narrative, in fact, that the unspoken narrative, making it look like, even though we are not saying you are bad, but you still appear bad in a way. And because, of course, unfortunately, you cannot blame anyone because the entire Gold Board has a sister policy prior to that, which is the Gold for Oil, and how the heavy losses were incurred at the time. And so it is just normal to expect these feelings from Ghanaians and policy think tanks that, if you find these arguments coming from them, if you find these reservations coming from some of the comments, I think it's understandable. You shouldn't condemn them because we have experienced a way awful situation in the last few years. And so nobody would want a repetition of Gold for Oil in this quality one that we have established now. So I think that it is very disheartening. I mean, if you are in the shoes of the policymakers who established this Gold for a Gold Board. Okay. It will be disheartening, but you should also genuinely assess the sentiment why people feel the way they do. Okay. And that if you can take that on board, I think we can better shape the Gold Board and make it a better institution for our collective good.
Which he has indicated that there's the institutional concept of Gold Board will be fully fledged.
However, in saying that, so I was saying in a few seconds, I was asking that I keep hearing the same narrative about artisanal mining. Now, how different are these from galamseyers? I mean, beyond the English, what's the difference between the two? So my question really is in fact, there's no difference. So you see, one is irresponsible mining. The other is supposed to be a regulated responsible mining.
One is responsible, not supposed to be.
But not supposed to be. It is supposed to be.
Okay.
My point here is this. if it is supposed to be, how far are we going with ensuring that it is indeed as regulated and responsible as it is, as it's supposed to be?
Right.
Now, if all those questions are not answered, we may be endangering ourselves in the quest to build a better country.
Professor Patrick, assuming just some quick responses to at least the intervention, and then he responded, Sammy Jeffrey responded to some of the concerns that you raised earlier, specifically about the pricing mechanism. He has explained the value addition, the pricing mechanism effect, and what the objective of the pricing mechanism was. And the fact that there was some awareness there was going to be some losses.
So I think that from the outset, there's been no condemnation of the Gold Board, what it stands for and what it's doing. So I think we should make that clear. But what we have to understand is that, as economists, economists have ways of counting costs, which tend to be more extensive than other people will. And so I think when you are valuing what you have done, and I think, it seems to me that there's been a bit of a shift in position from the statement that was issued. The statement came across as a statement in defiance and questioning, for instance, saying it's not aware of any losses. I think that, when institutions of state are doing things and people are making commentary, it shouldn't always be interpreted as an attack. After all, this is for the country of Ghana. So I think that, but when he says that, oh, yes, we knew there would be losses, and that, the benefit outweigh the cost. Well, that's his view. That's his point of view. Because if we want to know the full value that we are getting from this program, it's accounting for this, and the IMF was very specific, trading losses and off-taker fees. All of that has to be put together before even the Gold Board put out their profit statement. Because at the end of the day, it is part of the whole arrangement that is generating the loss. The other loss that we haven't accounted for, yes, we've admitted it, but the environmental damage, and nobody is saying that the environmental damage started with the Gold Board.
Yeah.
But, I think it's still a cost to society that we have to account for. So, it's not a condemnation. I think the Gold Board itself would have helped itself if its initial reporting was also balanced. Because if we heard this is what you have generated, this and this what has cost us, then it also helps us to put everything in the proper context. So it's not a condemnation, but you just have to be willing to accept that there are costs, and the country of Ghana have to decide how we deal with these costs.
All right.
As we are enjoying the benefit. We have to. So at the moment, the cost has been shifted to the central bank. Is that the best way to deal with that? And I think it's a legitimate question for people to ask that these losses, where are they coming from? What can we do to minimize the losses? And because when we minimize the losses, after all, whatever benefit comes is for the whole of the country. So it's still a legitimate question. I think clearly the position that he's taking now, it seems a little different from what you read from just the statement that was put out.
Right. Prof. Bofkin, just finally on this.
Thank you. I want to thank the CEO of Gold Board. I think he's done well. I started off by acknowledging the role of the Gold Board in crowding.
I don't think there's been any wrong condemnation.
Yeah, so government should not take it that we are opposed to that. I think there's a certain feeling also that we could do better within the whole landscape of responsible mining. Remember that in the run-up to 2024, even in the face of election, there was quite considerable level of agitation about Galamsey responsible mining. We even called for a state of emergency and all of that. Yes, I can understand that after election, that seemed not to be that popular now. But we have to, at the end of the day, sometimes when you are looking at cost-benefit analysis, the benefit may be now and you are seeing it, but the cost may be And if we have lost a life, children are born with deformities and all of that, what benefit could be compared to life and all of that? And I'm also saying that we are not against gold board. I'm saying that Ghana, we should be able to do responsible mining after several decades of independence and all of that. And then also the point that we are making is that we need to insulate Bank of Ghana from fiscal and quasi-fiscal activities that impairs the balance sheet of Bank of Ghana. I think that is where the IMF is coming from.
Okay.
And we all understand that. And it's the reason, Alfred, is the reason under the 16th IMF program from April 3rd, 2015, with 1 year extension to April 2019, we reduced the deficit financing from 10% to 5% of government previous year's fiscal revenue, just to limit the exposure. Then under the current IMF program, we have resorted to zero financing. But there are other quasi-fiscal activities that are being loaded on the balance sheet of Bank of Ghana that looks like fiscal dominance is showing up.
Okay.
Even though we've gone through a lot to insulate the central bank. And I think this is good for the Bank of Ghana itself. Because you see, anytime we are outside IMF, Bank of Ghana become too susceptible to fiscal pressures.
Okay.
So anytime we're under IMF, that is also a shield.
Okay.
For the fund.
That's
so
right.
let's look at it from that perspective.
It is the broader perspective or the context.
Of operational independence for the central bank.
Right.
Remember, the IMF program will be ending. In fact, technically, it was supposed to have ended December this year. There is 3-month extension, and perhaps all the review may conclude somewhere July. When we exit, there may be issues about whether Bank of Ghana can continue to maintain that independence we fought for, which is good for confidence and all of that. So let's look at it within that context.
Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.
You know, the IMF has requested that government considers a 3-month extension.
It's not IMF that requested. It's Ghana government that requested.
That's contrary to what I'm reading in this.
No.
In this
Read the heading.
So,
read the heading for the IMF report.
Because this
It
extension, because they said they want to, because there are some targets that have been revised.
Because we did not meet some of those structural reforms within the program timeline, and we have shifted. Remember, it is Ghana government program being supported by the IMF. Okay, so you read the entire report. The request is from us. It has to come from us. Even though if the IMF asks for it, it has to come from us.
So I think when you look this particular review, the 5th review, I think it just you get a sense the IMF is a little more concerned than perhaps it was even in the 4th review.
So this is what the report says. I just wanted to pull that part of the report. It says the extension through August 16, 2026 would help reach an understanding on the policy supporting completion of the 6th review, while allowing sufficient time to prepare and circulate board documents. Proposed program modifications, the IMF proposing modifications to Ghana's current program, including changes to the indicative targets, that's ITs, and the monetary policy consultation clause. At the end of March 2026, the primary balance and non-oil, they give all of that detail, and essentially making the point that to the extent that there has been some modifications to the policy targets, an extension through August 2026 would help reach an understanding on the policy supporting completion of the 6th review.
Yes. So look at it. So read it. When you read the entire report and you read the executive director for Ghana and the submission and the technical memorandum of understanding, all of that, you see where this is coming from. So you just need to look at the whole picture. Remember, originally it is Ghana government that requested for this program. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. We went to them.
We went to them. So all the arrangement is almost like coming from us, even though the IMF will also make suggestions that given the reform and all of that, I think, in fact, Alfred, I said this when the 2026 budget was presented, that I'm expecting a technical extension of about 3 months for us to wrap up well. I said this even before it was captured
Indeed,
here.
that I remember.
And I referenced what happened in the case of Zambia, because Zambia also asked for a 3-month extension to wrap up. Usually the structural reforms is a bit complex. To design and implement. So this is to be expected. Remember when the NPP took over in 2017, there was a 1-year extension of that particular program. Okay, because otherwise, normally after election excesses, usually you need to do a lot to bring the program back.
Thank you very much.
And all of that. So this is normal.
Professor Zuming,
yes.
quickly, finally on this.
So I will just say that I think, first of all, I know the president had been absolutely adamant that the program will not be extended.
True.
I think we should view this particular extension slightly differently. It's not the extension of a year where we were struggling to meet indicators. The macroeconomic targets have been met and exceeded. But the concern is that the underlying reforms that will ensure that these are sustained have delayed. And several of them have been missed. And, and it cuts across all sectors. In fact, there was a portion where it sort of criticized the Bank of Ghana for continuing multiple currency practices. And all of these are there. It tells you there are issues related to, corruption. The part about how to deal with declaration of assets and code of conduct for public sector workers. All of these have been delayed. And I think clearly what it means is that by the time there's a staff level agreement on the sixth and final review, there are certain reforms and documentations will not be ready. I think that's why there's this suggestion, whether it came from the government or it came from the IMF. It's obvious that there's going to be a 3-month extension. But I think it shouldn't be viewed in a negative light.
Not at all.
It should not be viewed in a negative light at all. It's to make sure that we finish properly.
And wrap up.
And hopefully this time we will not be returning at all or not soon.
Thank you. Professor Patrick Asuming, thank you very much. And quite a number of your messages. Samek Kwekum says, good morning. Before the audit issues, financial reporting and accounting treatment matters are resolved. How can there be a definitive 240 million loss being the exact loss if the audit hasn't taken place? That's a question that you're asking. This one also, it says, good morning. The Gold Board CEO has explicitly denied mischievous claims of the loss on the Gold Board books, but also there has been the indication of some loss, because if I heard him right, he did indicate that there's a loss to everything. Yes, he did say that. He says, and also that there will also be cost or losses because the Bank of Ghana knew that using its pricing to fend off smuggling, we should have expected this. So my question is the loss sitting on the Bank of Ghana books? So that's what the exact questions that my guests have been asking as well. And that's what the IMF says, that it should not be on the books of the Bank of Ghana. And you did hear Sami Gyamfi talk about, as is going forward, where those kinds of losses will sit from next year when they have a fully fledged institution. But there is that emphasis on also the loss or the cost to the pricing mechanism that they have been using. So that was a direct response to you, Professor Bobkin. There was one say, isn't the pricing of gold, Kofi Asare, says, isn't the pricing of gold at the same world market price and not discounting to make a profit a strategy to prevent smuggling in the immediate term while plugging all loopholes? Will Gold Board continue to do zero discounting, or will now begin imposing some 1 to 3% discount on prices offered, so it does not need to run losses by funding its operations and transactional cost through losses? That's a proposal as well that Kofi, you make. Good morning. Thank you very much for your message. And this one here says, Wilson Komla and Ando Moles, Daniel Eduafari, all ask why the professors have not been roped in to contribute to national development. This is free education we've had this morning. Thank you for the show, but I suggest that Professor Bokeng and Professor Suming should make themselves available for government to also advance economic development. I don't think they have denied any services or so.
They need to be invited.
Of course, certainly. Thank you very much for your message. Wilson Komla says IMF is unhappy that Ghana is no longer borrowing. You say thank you very much for the message this morning. And Ekwa Nyantechiwa, Prof, I like your submission because not only does it hinge on our reality, but it also professes solution. Let's go on to the next issue that we have on the table this morning. That is the Constitutional Review Committee's report, which they submitted to the president earlier in the week. Now, Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh, who led the entire exercise, sat with my colleague, Kemini Amano. I'm going to play portions of it to address the specific areas we're going to look at. But this is what the president, John Dramani Mahama, said when he received the report, and then also the bipartisan engagements he expects to take place after this report has been presented. Take a look.
We're moving from the constitutional review process into the implementation process. And so early next year, we would announce an implementation committee. And of course, we're going to call some of you to come and serve on that committee because we need that institutional memory transferred into the implementation. All the Afrobarometer reports and all the other reports had shown that a lot of our citizens were beginning to lose faith in our democracy. And that is why it is important for us to let them know that democratic governance is still better than any other form of governance. You might be excited about the romanticism of military governments and all that, but in the end, it is democratic governments that unleash the creative potential of people. If you leave them free, able to express themselves and go about their businesses, it unleashes their creative potential, unlike where decisions have to be taken for everybody. So I believe that this report has come at the right time. We will implement it in a bipartisan manner. All of us would come together and implement as many of the provisions as possible.
And that's the President, John Dramani Mahama there. And Professor Godfrey Bokeng and then also Professor Patrick Asuming have taken leave of us. I keep receiving quite a number of your messages. We're live on 3FM 92.7 of Voice of London Radio in the heart of the city of London. Toby Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo, thank you very much for the message this morning. In fact, it's a whole statement which I would get into. It says, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year in advance. This Toby Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo statement, the message is on the constitutional review. So, Toby, I'm going to read it as we go on. Thank you very much for your message. Lawyer Eduji Tamaklo says, my warmest regards to your esteemed panelists. Like Senior Martin People said, a broader discussion on the economy is reduced to how people feel at any time. Any government that misses this critical thinking is doomed. So is key is the impact of Gold Board has been phenomenal. I admit that we factor into the model the environmental impact that is in the directive principles of state policy. It is just a balance that we need. Gold Board has come to stay. $10 billion in foreign repatriation in a year is not a joke. No Eurobonds, but the economy is stable. Kudos to the economic managers. Thank you very much for your message this morning. The president was quite clear in his words. And this time I have all lawyers for this conversation, but the consultation was with ordinary Ghanaians, by the way. It is not it wasn't a legal engagement. Yes. The Constitution is not just a legal document. It's a political document. It's a document that reflects the soul
It's a living document
of the people. Indeed, that is that is capable of growing and responding to the changing needs of the people. Well, but the entire exercise was necessitated by, as Professor Kwesi Prempeh put it, the changing needs and expectations of people. But they're going to focus on 5 areas, just for the benefit of this conversation this morning. The increase of the number of years in a term for the president, 4 to 5 years. Your verdict, you agree or disagree?
Oh, absolutely disagree. Oh, it's a no. In actual fact, though HPC Prempeh said they didn't find space for a third term, they ended up proposing a third term through the back door, which we cannot accept. Because by saying 5-year terms, 2 of them, it means that you get 10.
10 years.
And if you are doing a straight third term, you'd have had 12. So it's just giving us half of the third term. We will throw that one out quickly.
Why?
It won't survive. Let's start with our history. When we adopted this Constitution 1992, the Consultative Assembly, that led the deliberations, etc., after the Committee of Experts submitted it to them. There were subcommittees within the Consultative Assembly. There was one on governance. They proposed this 5-year term in the Consultative Assembly. They met, they had committees, etc. The Committee on Governance brought this 5-year term in their report, where it was submitted to the main body. A vote was put on it, and it was roundly defeated, 128 against 83. Roundly defeated. So people, and of course, there was a debate before the vote in the
against
83. So that's a round defeat. People were very clear that don't try this 5-year term. So I don't know where HPC Prempeh got this from. Maybe they were not guided. You see, if they had consulted the previous experts, Professor Fiajo and co, I didn't see enough. Maybe they should have been a greater fusion. You see, Fiajo's committee should have been given more prominence because they did, you see, and let's remember this, Fiajo's committee, right, did a deeper engagement with the public. We voted. I remember voting through MTN, text message, etc. And this 5-year term, if you read their report, was one of the most, contentious issues where citizens made their views very known. They said, don't try any 5-year term. So I was like, HPC Prempeh, this thing, I'm sure you've consulted Fiajo and co. Oh, no, it doesn't show a reflection of our history. We've been very clear that nobody should try any 5-year term. Very, very clear. So it's a no. It's a non-starter cry that this current committee dreamt of a 5-year term. Because in any event, this committee did not have a mandate to engage the citizens like what Fiajo's committee did. Fiajo's committee, Abdullah, I don't know, did you vote? I remember voting. We voted. You were given this, so you received vote. So it means that the whole country, citizens, everybody who wanted to make an input could make an input. But HPC Prempeh's committee was not designed to do such a thing. So between the two, where citizens were allowed to vote, citizens expressed their opinion, everybody could make an input, as against a committee that gathered a few experts and did a few mini consultations. You go with the one that had engaged the whole nation. Okay, so don't try anything about 5-year term. No, we are not made for that. Now let's answer some of the concerns.
Okay.
Look, when you talk about preparation, so point.
I'm going to run the points by you. So if you disagree, let me come to Lawyer Justice Abdullahi on this. 4 years to 5 years, 2-term limit. That would be 10 years in total. That is if the person wins the 2 elections concurrently.
Well, I have made my views known on this, that I think the committee was trying to do a balancing thing. If you look at how President Kufuor in 2009 had proposed that we make a 7-year non-renewable term, which clearly looks too long. And if you gauge that by what my brother Martin is saying, in fact, my neighbor is saying clearly, it tells you that if 5 years is a no-no, then 7 years would have been shut down even before anyone imagined it. So obviously from that angle, I believe that they were trying to do a more balanced, proposing a more balanced tenure for the next constitution. And I say so because, admittedly, if you look at how our system has been structured, we spend the first 1 year to form a government. The second year is where the actual work begins. By the time you enter the third year, you are running for yet another election, whether to be re-elected or to go out of office. And so, effective working period is less than 2 years. Now, if you run a country that way, clearly, in fact, I'm not surprised that they call the current system of constitutional democracy an electoral constitution, because really, you do nothing. You do nothing within that 4 years. You simply walk in. By the time you finish forming a government, you're already preparing for yet another election. So the 4 year is not helping, which is why the 5 year proposal is coming in, giving you a more flexible time to work. But let's remember that in Akufo-Addo's first tenure, he was able to form government within 3 months. I'm not too certain how long it took President Mahama to form his government. I think about the same period, 3 to 4 months. But that is because these two people were prepared before they came in, because of the circumstances of their election. But no government has ever had that benefit. Kufuor took more than a year to form government. Jerry Rawlings possibly even worse, if I remember accurately, particularly in the 96, when J.H. Mensah even had to go to court to challenge whether or not the new ministers could continue
without being vetted.
And so this history should be a guide for all of us going forward. And I think that is what has reflected in the recommendation of 5 years.
I thank you.
My personal view, whether it's good or not, I think it is a fair deal.
It's a fair deal. 4 to 5.
Okay, so we'll come to the reason. With this was addressed. So after that, please come back.
I have the benefit of the Fiajo report, and also that of the Prempeh report. And Fiajo recommends a retention of the 4 year for the president, and Prempeh recommends 5 years. I want to support the Prempeh case because practically when you are in office,
increasing in 4 to 5 years.
5 years, and when you are in office, as my good friend Justice has just spoken about, first year virtually you are trying to find the pieces where they are. Second year you have a government running. Third year, by the close of the second quarter of third year, you are thinking of elections again. So effectively, you are in office for 1.5 years.
Just about a year.
1.5 years. Not enough for you to accomplish any of the policies or programs that you outlined, even as you campaign for to be elected. So I think that 5 years is not too long. It's not too short. At least gives you the benefit of 3 years of governance, so that the 2 years, one will be for preparation, the other will be for seeking re-election. So I think that 5 years is good. Again, I see it as coming out of consulting experienced politicians who have managed the constitution in the past. And they have all shared their views. And indeed, if you talk to each one of them, they all will consent to this proposal of 5 years. So let's benefit from their experience. In fact, President Kufuor said it. President Mahama once said it. And these are our living presidents who have suffered the pain of, squeezing their programs into 4 years. So it is not for nothing that both of them are talking like that. And in any case, it doesn't give anybody any benefit because it will not be applied in retrospect. And therefore, we are going into an election with a constitution that gives you a mandate of 5 years. And everybody has a fair chance. If it had had a retrospective application, then I would have said that you try to skew the thing to your favor. But President Mahama magnanimously agrees that it is something for the future. And that settles the scores for some of us who will be agitating.
Okay.
And I'm sure that the 5 year term will serve the purpose of situating the government, giving the government an assignment for a reasonable period of time to execute. I think I go with that.
So you juxtapose the two reports and you go for this one.
I go for this one.
Yes. So Mr. Kanse, this 5 year term, can you imagine? Citizens have been saying, can you imagine Akufo-Addo for 10 years? would have died. Please.
Martin, what is wrong with you?
But you live there. You were happy. We will not do this thing. Let's come to the substance. Let's come to the substance.
You have a defeated when the mention of a... Why would you always...
But I lived in this regime. Can you imagine Akufo-Addo for extra 2 years?
No, that is not fair.
Please, to the point.
Yes, when I first started...
We are talking about constitutional review. Talk about...
So we need poor governance. When you get a poor president... So that's a living example. That's a living example.
Make the point.
When you talk about Kufuor's poor governance, a lot of the young people, the Gen Zs cannot relate. So I'm giving them the one that they can. Oh, Kufuor, so we suffered. So that's how come, even though...
So you haven't suffered?
Yes. So you said...
Kufuor, so we suffered, but that's what they
to the point. You said to the point.
Oh, let's go to the point. Let's go to the substance. So when citizens were asked about this 5 years, they said, listen, this 1 year that Kufuor spent 1 year forming a government, they said their response, the constitutional review, Fiajo's committee report, they said prepare in opposition, use part of the time to prepare. So as you are campaigning, also prepare as to who you put in as this minister, that minister, etc.
You don't win before you
exactly, that's the verdict of the people. That's number one.
Understand this.
Let me continue. Right. Then number two, let's come here. There's this Supreme Court decision a lot of lawyers don't pay attention to, right? Now, in the JH Mensah case, right, the Supreme Court said that when you nominate ministers, they are also allowed to act. They are allowed to act for a reasonable period before the vetting and approval in Parliament. So it doesn't mean that meaning that when the president says I nominate Atu-Forson as finance minister, etc., he should go and start the work. Then when Parliament is ready, they will call him to do vetting. Of course, because the Supreme Court said within a reasonable period. So I'm thinking maybe 6 months. But if people think, for governance, 6 months looks too long, maybe they can reduce it to 3 or 4 months. But the key point I'm making is that the Supreme Court has held that when a minister is nominated, he is allowed to go and act for a reasonable period before the vetting. So don't use vetting and approval as an excuse. We settled this a long time ago. The JH Mensah as Attorney General, I think it's 96.
96, yes.
Yes, okay. Yes, but people just don't. When you want to see where it is, go to the last 2-3 lines. Yeah, it appears people read and they don't look at the last part. Last 2-3 lines, you see it there. That ministers can act without parliamentary approval for a reasonable time. Okay, so we've looked at all of this. So it shouldn't be that, we are waiting for vetting and approval before a government is fully formed, right? And then also let's go to the next point, which is that, look, in the Fiajo report, you see that they looked at our neighbors, these francophone countries that do the 5-year term, etc., right? And they came back and said Ghanaians are clear that they don't want any 5 years. So please, let's know few. President Kufuor is one person. President Mahama is one person. Apia Kubi is one. When democracy is crowd, exactly, I'm also one. But when the thing was put to a vote, number one, like as I said, there's been 2 levels of vote. When we're adopting the 92 Constitution, the Constituent Assembly, that's the 128 against 85 and 13 abstentions, roundly defeated. Then the Fiajo committee, when they engage Ghanaians, also roundly defeated. So why would a few individuals come and say...
Thank you, gentlemen.
So Mohammed, you've had 2 chances, you lost.
The next issue
twice.
linked directly is the age of eligibility. Now, the age of eligibility for the president was the 40 years. Your microphones are off. Your microphone is off, by the way. So the age of eligibility, as of now, is 40 years. The committee is proposing 30 years, 10 years down. Justice Abdullahi.
Yes, so...
you're for against this, and why?
No, I am not entirely against it. I am for it, except that I expected that it be reduced further to 21, rather than...
reduce the age to contest for president.
Yes, yes. If you can be a member of parliament,
21 years.
If you can be a member of parliament at that age, why can't you be a president?
No.
If you can be a member of parliament at the age of 21, Why can't you be a president at the age of 21?
But why do you?
In any case, the fact that the age requirement is reduced does not make any person automatically a president. The person will still have to appeal to the people of Ghana, and if you desire to make that 21-year-old a president, so be it. Who loses? And in fact, let's remember that traditionally, in our traditional democracy, a chief can be 1 year old, 2 year old, even though he may not necessarily be the one superintendent over a community until he's of age. But he is still considered the chief, even if he's in waiting. So if that person can, with all due apologies, assuming the Asantehene is no more, right? And his nephew who succeeds him, the next in line is 10-year-old. Nobody will question his age as a basis to disqualify him. He will still be the next in line. He will still be the chief all the way until he is fully of age and then takes complete control.
All right.
Now, if that is possible under our traditional democracy, why can't we have a 20-year-old as a president if Ghanaians decide to vote for that person? Particularly when today we all admit that the people we call Gen Zs are smarter, relatively smarter than all of us.
But you see, Apia Kubi disagrees with you on this, but let's understand
Obviously.
the context. Please, let's understand the context. Why this proposal was even put in the report. Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh speaks to this. Take a look.
Yes. If the people look at you and they say, this guy is 90, and so I'm not going to vote for a 90-year-old man to get to the presidency or a 90-year-old woman, that's their choice to make. The people themselves know what they are getting. It's not as if your age is off limit. They know your age, and if they choose to vote for you, that's their problem. But in the same vein, when we were talking about the minimum age for presidency, it's currently 40.
Right.
And we said, well, it should come down to 30.
To 30.
That's what I'm saying. But how can a 30-year-old? It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that when you are 30 and you stand for president, you're going to get elected. It's for the people to decide. If you are 30 and they feel you have accomplished a lot and you have a lot to offer, your maturity shows, your experience shows at 30, and they want to vote for you, that's their choice. In many of the countries that are far more advanced, they are electing much younger people, right? So 40 years seem to us a bit high, because even in 1960, the Constitution allowed 35-year-olds to stand for president. In 1969, when we had a Westminster Constitution, in the Westminster system, the parliamentary system, because they don't have presidents, they don't have the executive is chosen from parliament. So the minimum age at that time was 21, right? 21, you could get into parliament. And from parliament, you then became a minister. So that's how, I think President Kufuor became a minister or deputy minister at 28 or something in his days. He was already in parliament. The minimum way to get to parliament was 21. So once you are in parliament, you could become the prime minister at 21, 22. So we've had a system before where much younger people were allowed to get into government. So what's the big deal about lowering the age to 30? Our demographics show that a larger percentage of the population is below 35.
So that decision was taken based on the demography?
Demography, and also just, we are a youthful population.
Being abreast with time?
Absolutely, we're a much youthful population. You can't still, at this time, expect that, somebody should be 50 before they can. No, it's not going to fly.
Okay, so you can see.
That's Professor H. He appears to align with some of the things that Justice Abdullahi indicated, but you disagree. Why?
I do disagree.
You still want it to be at 40?
I have been 21 before, and I know also a lot of 21-year-olds who were my friends, and I know also the psyche and the pedigree and the thinking of people that were friends to me and myself, and I don't think that at 21 or so, as you say, or 30, you have 30 or 21, as he's saying, you have the necessary capacity in terms of thinking faculty to be able to shoulder the responsibilities of office of a president. And don't forget some of us, we had experience of even becoming SRC president in universities. And you know the experience that you get from there, you know that you will not be ready for the presidency, even at that point. Mm-hmm. You understand? So you are growing into more responsive positions. When you rush into it, you don't get the results.
For me, this sounds really unfair. No, it sounds unfair.
Wait.
So members of parliament for 21 years.
I have been 21 before.
Okay. And so you say that if a member of parliament is 21 years.
Listen, I didn't disrupt you. I didn't disrupt you.
Please.
And when you have, there are people who are exceptional, and they are 1 out of thousands.
Okay.
So ordinary 21-year-olds come to parliament, they cannot perform. And I've been a parliamentarian before, and I know what it takes to represent a constituency of, say, 100,000 people. And I know the stress that you go through for the years that you become their leader. And indeed, it is not easy at all for a 21-year-old mind to be managing such a constituency. Indeed, you need a little bit more experience. Okay. And with this opportunity, I will even advise young people who want to come into politics, develop your fallback position before you enter. Because when you enter politics, it's the same day that you start to plan your exit. Because you don't control when you come out.
Right.
So if you enter politics without the necessary preparation background, that when you are not a politician or when you are not in parliament, you will have something to do. You will come out of parliament and be a destitute.
Well,
thank you.
He's a living example.
Yes.
He's making more money as a private practitioner.
I'm telling you that it is important to build a fallback position.
Right.
So that when you are not again, you know what to do. You have something to do. At least something will occupy your mind.
Right.
But I would rather prefer that Prof should have looked at the ceiling rather than the platform.
The entry.
The ceiling, so that when you are 75, for example, you cannot contest. Because naturally, your faculties descend.
Why not 70, not 75?
Well, I'm thinking that 75, we have
or maybe even 60.
Judges who are doing very well at 75.
But you retire at 60, so why do you want to still be president?
Oh, but we have judges who are doing 75, Supreme Court judges and the like. But if you are entering, if you are 75 and you are beginning, I should think that there should be a restriction there. And if you begin before 75, you shouldn't go beyond 10 years.
Right.
Because at 85, you can't do much.
Okay.
And we have seen that in some parts of Africa. People are nente and they are doing. So I would have thought that they should have considered the ceiling for the presidential term.
Okay.
So that you cannot enter beyond 75. And you should exit at 85 at all costs.
Right.
So that there should be a retirement age for presidents, as we have in other public service.
Okay, very important. I'll bring it, Matsumebu, after this quick break. But Franklin Cudjoe says, are we not making excuses for an ill-prepared politician who should have a good idea of who he will be working with or who will be in his cabinet?
Perfect.
With this 4 to 5 years extension. I agree with lawyer Martin Pebu on this. Franklin Cudjoe is the founding president of Imani Africa. Mr. Cudjoe, thank you. Thank you very much. I'll be back after... I'll be back after this quick break.
Him agreeing with him that
Party. I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to sing. I can't wait to dance with all the amazing people that are going to be there. So make sure you come for the 3FM annual all-white party on the 28th of December. Don't be late.
3FM All White Beach Party, sponsored by Blue Jeans Energy Drink, Slam Perfume, Calibo, Fruitelli.
Back to Key Point on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7. And talking about 3FM 92.7, the all-white party is happening tomorrow. And that's why you see a number of my guests in white. They are preparing for the event. The Honorable and the Apia Kubi, Martin Bebu. Yes, you come in white. And then also lawyer Justice Abdullah. They are all going to be there. And that's we are inviting you watching us. Dial this short code *928*12*12# *928*12*12#. Or better still, for more details and inquiries, call this number. Tell them you heard me talk about it on Key Point, and there's going to give you a good package, and then also ensure that you enjoy the day tomorrow at the Labadi Beach Hotel. 053-110-0927. Call this number 053-110-0927. That is 053-110-0927 or 053-2200927. 053-2200927. And that's always, and as we tell you about the Maha Beach Resort, the package for this festive season, welcome you with drinks, access to all in-house facilities, swimming pool, gym, many others. The early bird discount, a number of you have enjoyed it already. Book and pay and get a 20% discount before end of the year. Call Maha Beach Resort on 0540-124-114. 0540-124-114. And the National Petroleum Authority is also calling on you, the members of the general public, if you have any issues after buying fuel at the pump station, if you suspect that you have been sold contaminated or fuel that is not appropriate and meeting the standards, you can go to their head office as Anjolo, and you can get some redress or response to the concerns that you have observed after buying fuel at any of the fuel stations. That is for the National Petroleum Authority. So they are concerned with the services that these fuel stations are offering customers, especially within this festive season. So please, if you have that within 48 hours, go and report it to them. Now, before we went for the quick break, Lawyer Martin Bebu, just a quick one on this age limit, 40 to 30 years.
Look, that one, let me put it this way. My thoughts are still evolving on it, all right?
Yes.
But so far, I don't find anything exceptionally bad. My thoughts are evolving. But the reason I'm not, it doesn't excite me like the other one that we are fighting 4 years to 5 years. Is that practically there are checks. Generally, you know that a 30-year-old is not likely to, be able to dazzle the rest of the citizenry like that, generally. So it means that if one were to spring up like that, then it means that such a 30-year-old will be of exceptional ability. And so it means that citizens will give him the opportunity, right?
Right.
So that's it. The only one now I'm wondering is that, generally, I just hope that there won't be an increase in the number of those who will then be trying as independents, so as to make the electoral, the ballot very long, the ballot sheets. So I just hope that there won't be an astronomical increase in the number of candidates.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking about. But that one, we should evolve technology, a way to deal with it.
Thank you. This one, message from Kennedy Hedo says, Alfred, on the constitutional review, a 5-year term is suicidal. A broader look at the sub-region of countries with 5 years and the mess thereof is informative enough.
Excellent.
Why not maintain the 4-year term practiced by progressive democracies like the US and others, including Ghana, where this has worked, you say? Thank you very much, Kennedy, for your message this morning. And the last part, the third, as I indicated, for the next 2 weeks, we are doing the 5. There's also the proposal for the capping of the ministers to 57. And then also MPs will not be appointed as ministers. And that's like the strict separation of powers that we're seeing, because you see that more aligned to the Barrow-Montesquieu kind of approach, as against what we're experiencing now from the evolution of John Locke to Barrow-Montesquieu now. And now you're seeing that we're now seeking to align with them strict instead of the flexible separation of powers. How's that going to work?
I think this is long overdue. It's long overdue because we've seen that generally MPs, so I agree that an MP should not be a minister, because what it has tended to do is that it weakens parliament. The MPs generally go to parliament in order to increase, or people go to parliament to increase their chances of becoming ministers. And once they become ministers, they are conflicted. And on the one hand, they have allegiance, so to speak, for lack of a better word, to the president. Then on the other hand, they have allegiance to parliament. It doesn't work, right? And you see, the executive position brings them big opportunities. As a minister, he approves big contracts, etc. So there is a lot of gifts, etc. So naturally, he would want to side with the president more. Because how much is a parliamentarian's pay? It's next to nothing compared to what a minister will get. I'm not talking about the corruption one, no. I mean gifts, genuine gifts. A contractor is done and he comes to give you a gift, etc. We'll deal with that when it comes to asset declaration. But for now, our laws don't totally prohibit that, as long as you didn't twist his arm, you didn't threaten the person or delay the contract, etc. Right? So because the minister will get more from the executive, that's from his position as minister, he tends to be weak. He loses that oversight over the president. So we are looking at Article 103 of the Constitution, the way Parliament should have oversight. Just as the way we too, as citizens, should have oversight over the president and all the other arms of government, as stated in the preamble to the Constitution, Article 1, Article 35, Article 125, etc. Right? So the checks and balances are weakened. So I think this is the most popular, recommendation, that a minister should not be a member of parliament. It's long overdue, long overdue.
Thank you. Honorable Apiakobi,
yes,
on this, and tie it into the land.
Yes, on this subject, I agree with Martin. And me, myself, I have tasted parliament, so I know what it means. If a parliament is supposed to they say not supervise, but make sure that you hold accountability checks on the executive. And if you have that mandate and you also are a member of the executive, it makes it difficult. Also, because parliamentarians will gravitate to become ministers, you want to please the president always. so that he will catch your eye. And again, because of that so-called collaboration, Parliament becomes a post office. Anything that comes to Parliament is from the executive that you are part, so that you come here to prosecute it without the necessary scrutiny. And that Parliament is weakened by that. Again, when you are both here and there, it defeats the concept of natural justice. As you being a judge in your own court, you are part of the creation. It comes to Parliament and you are coming to massage it and make sure it passes. So more or less, executive consumes Parliament, and therefore we don't have the opportunity to check the behavior of the executive. And it becomes watch my back and watch my back.
Okay.
The same people, even when it comes to emoluments, President does it for you and you also do it for him. And therefore, the absence of separation makes it more difficult for us to do the supervision required of us by the Constitution. So I am totally for it that there must be a Parliament that will do the work of Parliament. There must be an executive that will do the work of the executive, so that there is this collaboration is necessary though, but again, it comes in the form of supervising this and they also supervising you.
Thank you.
But on this note, you give me some little bit of time to point out two inconsistencies in the Constitution that has been addressed by this review. And I want to look at Article 257 of the Constitution that talks about public lands. And 257 says that all lands, vested lands and acquired lands, they are all come together to make public lands. And the public lands give these lands to, the Constitution gives these lands to Lands Commission to manage.
Right.
But you go to paragraph 2, Article 257, clause 2 and 3, it says that all such lands from the northern region, upper east and upper west, they have been given back to the pre-acquisition owners upon promulgation of this Constitution. What happens to the other people in the other parts of Ghana?
Right.
And again, the Constitution is per Article 35.5, there is a prohibition of discrimination. So why would you take people's land in the south as you give people's land back in the north? I think there must be uniformity so that everybody takes his land. And in fact, page 49 of the report addresses all that so that it brings equity and fairness to the land sector. And that is good. So I recommend that all these clauses are enshrined. There are people whose land have been taken by the state. Compensation not paid to them, yet they cannot also access their land.
Thank you very much. And Lawyer Justice Abdullah, next week we continue this part of the conversation. In fact, we're going to touch next week on the Independent Corruption Commission, and then also the removal process of the CJ and the EC chairs. So gentlemen, thank you so much for coming, and a happy new year to our viewers. Boutros Andy says that I have two reasons I can never accept the extension of the presidential term from 4 to 5. The already corrupt society will be elevated and elongated, and politicians will have more time to steal, you say. Andy Boutros, thank you very much for your message. A lovely weekend, a happy new year to our viewers. Let's meet tomorrow at the 3FM All White Party at the Labadi Beach Hotel.